Chapter 523 Old Yuan. Chapter 523 Old Yuan. Evening, a time when the crimson sun bids goodbye to the five lonely figures shuffling down the path. Shuafan walked at a snail's pace on the weeded path, as if he was going on a road of no return, dragging it out as excruciatingly long as possible. Yet it only delayed the inevitably cruel fate destiny had for him. Steward Jua. Here is the labor office. Violent Demon lifted a weary finger at the shoddy and small building. Shuafan was stunned at the sight. It was worthy of its name, a dump just like his house in the slums of Drifting Flower City. The only saving grace in that case was that his stay was temporary. While now he had no frickin' clue how to leave this shithole. Xiaowu, you haven't seen the last of me. You think it's funny using a 9th grade pill just to get me thrown in this thing? Shuafan spat the four scheming demons, shrugged. Violent Demon shouted, "Whoever is in there, get out now." I'm coming, a panicky voice replied, followed by an old man in ragged clothes and white beard running over. He bowed and flattered Violent Demon. "Ha, elders, what can I do for you?" Shuafan's gang looked with disdain at the 5th-layer bone-tempering elder. So old, yet only in the bone-tempering stage. Such a poor talent this secular world has. That's why he's here, and this is where he'll meet his end. The five shook their heads. The old man ignored their blatant disdain and wore a wide smile. "Hey, old-timer, where are the rest of you? Don't tell me you're the only one here." Violent Demon finally found a chance to be high and mighty. Though the high part was questionable, the mighty part more than made up for it. The old guy bowed, giving a humble reply. "Elder, they're all out working, watering the herb garden, sweeping and cleaning." "Are you the one in charge here?" Violent Demon continued. The old man beamed a yellow smile. "I am Yuan Xingong, the one taking care of this place and already 100 years old. A bone-tempering cultivator got to 100 in this place." Shuafan eyed the old-timer. The four pygmies said the labor office was the sex dump used as consumables in others' training. The old-timer must have had some luck to reach 100 in this hellhole. The old man noticed his doubt and spoke softly. "Young master, surviving the labor office is a bit tricky. Either work hard to be an elder, or lay lower like a pygmy." That's me, Tiny. To be taken away for practice, one must first have some value. I've suppressed my cultivation and look utterly worthless to everyone, thus reaching old age. I must admit I am the oldest one here, so I ended up looking after the place. Like the old adage, the tallest tree gets the wind. So this guy kept himself too plain, the king of nobodies. Shuafan sighed. If it were me, knowing I'd one day end up under someone's knife, I'd just fight my way out. Why wait here for death? Young master, that is such a simple way of thinking. The disciples in the labor office all have low cultivation and don't know how to open the barrier. How can we get out? The old man sighed. The world is cruel, and everyone is its fodder. A man's fate has always been to struggle against death since birth. And the only thing that can change this is one's skill. By escaping the depths of misery, one would finally attain strength. Shuafan eyed the old-timer in surprise. To think an old bone-tempering cultivator would have such a deep insight into the world's nature. The old man returned to his servile manner with a smile. "Elders, where are my manners? How may I address you? We will be here together after all." Old-timer, perk your ears. We are the graceful and magnificent demonic cultivator hero quartet of the demon scheming sect, the four scheming demons. Violent Demon grinned, his nose way up high. The old man cried, "Ah, executives, forgive my lack of manners. May I ask what sirs are doing here? Who's the blind fool that forgot to sweep? That's not it. We don't even know our home's cleaner." Violent Demon waved, and his brothers laughed, pointing at Shuafan. "We came here because Steward Jua has irked the sect leader for some odd reason, getting demoted to the labor office. It's fine, though, since this'll be just a short stop. Take good care of him, or you'll be liable." "Elders, I'd never neglect young master Jua. Moreover," then he glanced at Shuafan, "with his profound heaven cultivation, there's nothing I can do to him. Only, labor office does have some unruly young masters." "What unruly?" Just use our title. Violent demon snorted and barked, causing the old man to shy away. Fan figured out more as he said, "Is your title that well known to quell anyone? In this dump, everything will rest on me in the end." Ugh. The four exchanged a glance and laughed. Steward Joie is right. With your skills, you don't need our care. Then, sir, have a nice day while we'll be making inquiries as to how this happened in the first place. We will get you out. Violent demon nodded. His gaze firm. The other three echoed him. The old man watched it all with a glint in his eyes. After many demons repeated warnings to the old guy, they cupped their hands at Fan and flew away. Fan chuckled. He never thought the day would come when these four shits would look after him. Mr. Joie has such nice friends. I've seen my fair share of strong people coming to labor office, but never before like Mr. Joie, with so many executives looking after him. The old man spoke. Simply Fan smiled. To Fan, I will be calling Sir Elder Yuan. That won't do. I can't accept it. The old man waved his hands around. I'm but a bone-tempering cultivator a whole stage beneath, sir. Ha ha ha. What's it got to do with anything? When I respect someone, they have something of worth. Sir's cultivation is low, but your insight into the world can't be compared. All that's left is for your talent to increase, and sky is the limit. Fan beamed as his hand now held a vial. This is my clan's heaven-reaching pill. It enhances the body and makes cultivation easier. Let us expound on the heavenly Tao together. Startled, the old man received the vial. The soothing aroma coming from it had him flabbergasted. 10th grade pill. Elder Yuan is truly wise. At the bone-tempering stage, yet aware of such a pill. Fan raised an eyebrow, gulping and struggling to regain calm. Yuan Xingong gave a dry laugh. In my days as a laborer, I helped an alchemist around and had the fortune to witness a 10th grade pill. I never imagined I'd be seeing one again. Mr. Joie, this is our first time meeting, yet I feel ashamed accepting such a lavish gift. Ah, it's fine. There's plenty of it where that came from. Fan shrugged that had Elder Yuan stumble, looking back at Fan with a freaky gaze. Mr. Joie, where did you say you were again? If you have 10th grade pills, why would you come to Demon Scheming Sect? Can't help it when you're obligated. Fan shook his head, then looked at the crumbling building. Elder Yuan, where will I be staying? Yuan Xingong turned from him to the pill, having mixed feelings. Holy moly, a big shot has come down. What a godly return, using a 10th grade pill to pay back for a 9th grade pill. In a field of flowers, people with white robes, and the mystical words sewn on their shoulders in gold landed rustle. They all made a sign, and the flower field shimmered, turning into a lofty landscape of towering mountains. One pale woman, with blood on her lips, stepped forward in silence. Her arrival had people shouting, "Someone help! Senior Sister Shui is hurt." Chapter 524, An Ice Princess Smile. Chapter 524, An Ice Princess Smile. Ripples came from a deep cave in a mountain, from the four elegant women holding their hands in a circle and releasing prismatic lights. Next to them stood a grizzled old man with a long beard and a fine young man with soft features, in his 20s. But his waning face betrayed his fragile health. He coughed on and off, his eyes filled with worry. Elder Sue, wasn't Senior Sister Wawa's condition light? Why isn't it improving? Should we notify Father and the Venerables? The young man sighed. Elder Sue smiled. Young Master, these four are executing the four-element cycle array, holding metal, wood, water, and fire. And by connecting with the earth, the cycle is complete. Under the effect of this great cycle, Ruahua's condition will improve in no time at all. There's no need to bother sect leader and the others over such a trifle. The young man nodded, but was worried still. After another ripple, the four women took back their power, and the prismatic glow faded. They opened their eyes and stood up. Shui Ruahua bowed to the other three in gratitude. Thank you, junior sisters, for saving me. Senior sister, it's nothing. The others returned her gesture. The young man walked over impatiently and grew excited at Shui Ruahua's healthy state. Cough. Senior Sister Ruahua, are you all right? Ha ha ha, of course, silly brother. Shui ruffled his hair, and the boy smiled. They had grown up together and were practically kin. Despite the difference in status, he still treated her like family. Just then, an icy tone echoed. Senior sister, since you're all right, I'll return to my training. The woman in white caught their attention, possessing a blinding beauty, but an icy character no other than Chu Qingchang. The young man stared at Chu Qingchang's delicate face, then shied away. When he finally mustered his courage, he said, Junior sister Qingchang, isn't it dull having cultivated day in day out since the moment you came to Mystical Heaven Sect? You've finally taken a walk outside, yet you want to return already? Young Master Xiaoyu, practice makes perfect, and cultivation requires dedication. The only reason I'm in Mystical Heaven Sect is to cultivate. If not for Senior Sister Ruohua's wounds needing the four-element cycle array, I would never have walked outside. Chu Qingqing's icy tone came. The others shook their heads. Junior Sister Qingcheng has always been a frozen blade, cold inside and out. The young man sighed. I've seen beauties all my life, yet the only one to have touched my heart is this ice princess. Besides being so uninterested in others, she also keeps everyone at a distance. Xian Xiaoyu had a bitter smile, his wan face turning whiter. Shui Ruohua knew his thinking fully well and shook her head. Not just anyone can thaw the frozen heart of an ice princess. Junior Sister Chu, please wait. Shui Ruohua called out to her. Before she left, Chu Qingcheng turned around in puzzlement. Shui Ruohua said, as I was in danger while getting the herb, I met someone. He seemed to have a connection with you, so I hope Junior Sister can attest. With me? Frowning, Chu Qingqing looked even more skeptical. Didn't third young Master Han hurt you? What does he have to do with me? Elder Su was also curious. Ruohua, the disciple, said Demon Soul Sect's third young Master Han hurt you. Qingcheng and they have no relationship, so why would you ask this? Elder, allow me to explain. Third young Master Han did hurt me, but Shui Ruohua gave Chu Qingcheng a long look. The one to save me was from the demon scheming sect. What? They all looked at her in shocked silence. Xian Xiaoyu even more so. There's nothing but open hostility between our sections. Why would they ever go on demon scheming sect's bad side for us? He didn't save Mystical Heaven Sect, just that it had something to do with Qingcheng. Shui Ruohua had a bitter smile. It left them even more confused about Chu Qingqing's relationship with demon scheming sect. Chu Qingcheng was just as confused. Elder Su's beard shook, and he stared at Shui Ruohua in all seriousness. Ruohua, explain just what is going on. It's like this. Shui Ruohua got her thoughts together and said, we discovered a 9th grade herb in a valley, the tricolor soul fixing grass. That's great. Did you get it? Elder Su jumped and Shui Ruohua rolled her eyes and revealed the herb in a flash of white. Of course. I'd go through hell if it means I can heal Brother Xiaoyu. Sister Ruohua, thank you. Cough. Xian Xiaoyu had a coughing fit as he thanked her. Elder Su was overjoyed. Go on, huh? We couldn't get a hold of it, actually, because Demon Soul Sect came for it as well. Shui Ruohua explained. Demon Soul Sect's third young Master Han was strong, and I ended up badly hurt after one move. Third young Master Han is despicable to not even spare women. The next time we sisters meet him, we'll give him a lesson in manners with the 4-element cycle array. One pretty lady in red robes snorted. Shui Ruohua glanced over, but smiled and wiggled her cute button nose. Third young Master Han isn't just anybody. Don't underestimate him. But even a young master from the middle 3 sects had met his nemesis this time. All turned quiet, even the fiery lady, hanging on Shui Ruohua's every word. When I was on the brink of death, a man showed up. He merely flicked his hand and scarred the land in 2 halves, forcing third young Master Han to never overstep that line. Even as the man left, third young Master Han never crossed it. Shui Ruohua's heart thrummed as well, recalling that scene. He is the one who gave me the herb, a man from Demon Scheming Sect. SSS. Everyone gasped and looked shocked. Why would Demon Scheming Sect help them without rhyme or reason? The lady in red blinked her big putty eyes, her smile naughty. Senior Sister Ruohua, did he fancy you and wanted some dual cultivation? You mustn't fall for it. Demonic cultivators are vile and insidious. Shui Ruohua winced, then shook her head, even as she felt let down for some reason. He gave me the herb with one condition. His target wasn't me, but Shui Ruohua looked at Chu Qingsheng. He asked 2 questions about junior sister Chu Qingsheng, then gave me the herb. Which 2? Chu Qingsheng asked eagerly, if you're in mystical heaven sect, and if you're doing well. Shui Ruohua replied. Chu Qingsheng asked again, even more eager, what's his name? I don't know. He asked me to forget all about it. But those 4 radiant stage pygmies called him Steward. It's really him. Chu Qingxing shook with pure joy. Her icy features melted into a beautiful smile. He misses me. 2 trails of tears accompanied her bright smile. Everyone was stumped, having never seen her smile, and finding it a work of art. They also never expected her beauty to be so radiant. An unsmiling Chu Qingsheng was already a worldly beauty, yet now she was divine. Just who is he to make junior sister Qingsheng so overjoyed just from hearing his name? Balling his fist, Xian Xiaoyu's eyes glinted with envy. Shui Ruohua shook her head, but Zhuofan's courteous manner made her smile. Is a demon who is able to worm his way into your heart. Chapter 525, Azure Circle. Chapter 525, Azure Circle. The moon hung high above the black, eerie sky in complete silence. Zhuofan sat in a shoddy house, eyes closed, and an azure flame flashing on his forehead. He had little clue about how to use Kunping's gift initially, but the sacred beast had pointed out that it was second to none when it came to soul refining. With the flame nurturing his soul, it grew clearer and stronger, faster than ever. But a frown set in on Zhuofan's face due to the cawing outside, and the azure flame faded out. Zhuofan, wake up. We have to gather. An aged voice echoed with anxiousness, followed by Elder Yuan opening his door and pulling Zhuofan outside. Zhuofan inquired, Elder Yuan, why all the rush? Oh, right, you just arrived. 2 sirs have called for all the laborers. We've got to move fast, or our lives are forfeit. Elder Yuan's eyes swam with panic. Zhuofan was even more baffled. 2? Wasn't the labor office under your administration? I only have an honorary position. Whenever there's someone stronger around, he's the one in charge. Look at my cultivation. Can I just call myself king? Elder Yuan pulled Zhuofan faster. This place must have some lurking snakes too. Though Zhuofan didn't care much, since even if the dragon had a tough time quelling the snake, he was the soaring, demonic dragon piercing the sky. No matter the snake, I'll waste him a second. He looks at me funny. Humph. The dragon and snake is an idiom referring to not even law can tie a mafia boss down. Zhuofan let himself be pulled. They arrived at the labor office's deepest part, a man-sized black hole carved into a mountain. People were coming from all over, like them, and entering the cave. Elder Yuan cried out, sigh, so few left outside. That means we're late, and everyone's inside. So, since there's still more people coming over, we're not the last ones. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. Elder Yuan shook his head. You can be late, but I can't. And pulled harder on Zhuofan towards the cave. Torches graced the cave with light from each side as people followed the tunnel deeper to an even brighter area. It was a large open space dug up in the mountain, tens of miles in range. Tens of thousands of people were already there. Watching the 2 people on the dais, one was a girl with a scorpion drawn on half her face in purple and black. Her vile eyes and powerful vibe put her in the 3rd layer of radiant stage. The other was a tall and sturdy man with a stubble on his face, wearing black and had a cold smile. His aura had Zhuofan take him for a 4th layer of radiant stage. So even the labor office is a den of monsters. Zhuofan said. Elder Yuan pulled his sleeve, whispering. They were all inner disciples casted out to the labor office due to a serious offense. Their lives are over, making their mood even worse. Don't taunt them, even if you have 4 executives behind you. They have an elder's protection, so don't get carried away and end up dead. Elder Yuan, what are you still doing down there? What are you muttering? The boorish voice got everyone to look at the savage face of the man on the dais. Elder Yuan's shirt, then gave Zhuofan one last look before going up with a nice smile. Sirs, forgive my tardiness. Humph. Geezer, the only reason you get to keep your stinking rotten life is because you're too damn useless even as a training target. You just keep getting slower. The man glared. Elder Yuan nodded with the same smile. Thank you so much for your mercy, Sir Kuei Lang. Haha. Take out the roster already. I want to see the numbers. Kuei Lang cursed. Wretched, filthy sack of bones. Using you as an ingredient will ruin my cultivation. Yeah. Elder Yuan put on a lowly face. Presenting the roster, Kuei Lang went through a roll call. Li Ergu, Hua Taishu. Kuei Lang's booming voice rang in everyone's ears, showing off his power. The men being called raised their hands, while the hesitating ones earned a harsh rebuttal. Wrapping up with the names, Kuei Lang's attitude never changed until he got to the last name. We have a newcomer, Zhua Fan. Here. Zhua Fan raised his hand. Kuei Lang eyed him and snickered. As a newcomer, he must be taught the rules. Young Master Kuei, please show mercy. Elder Yuan panicked and pleaded. Young Master Kuei, for executives brought him with explicit warning to not be touched. Harming him will forfeit my life. Kuei Lang balled his fists, ignoring him. What about executives? I've got an elder. Here, we all must follow the rules. Young Master K, those executives care very much about him, even going to the sect leader to petition for his sake. Would the young master's elder do the same? Elder Yuan's eyes darted everywhere as he pointed out. Kuei Lang paused and thought all the people here were sect rejects. With even their own masters seeing them as hopeless, they couldn't care less about leaving their lives to fate. The only upside to all this was paying their master a visit for some crumbs. As for getting the master to stick his neck out, it was a total no-no with the executives behind Zhua Fan go to such lengths for him. Even risking going against sect leader's command, roughing him up would end with the culprit getting thrashed. Or worse, he didn't feel like getting the executives on his case. Kuei Lang, since the kid is so important, it's best to tone it down for now. The girl reminded him. Kuei Lang nodded and relaxed his fists. The risks outweigh the gains. Kuei Lang turned solemn. I've called you all here for one reason. Today, the Azura Circle begins anew, and only the winner may leave this place. What? The crowd went wild. Is this a joke? Azura Circle is once every 3 years. Why is it being held again after only 6 months? Kuei Lang snorted. Regardless of the time, the result doesn't change. Only the strongest can live. The losers will become the sect's resource for training. In this very cave, the first bell starts the fight while the second stops it. Is that clear? The crowd panicked, caught totally unprepared. They figured the gathering was for something they had planned, like some elder's birthday. But nobody expected it to be the Azura Circle. Did the inner disciples run out of target practice already? Elder Yuan was worried for Zhua Fan and pleaded. Young Master Kuei, Zhua Fan has just arrived and does not know the cruelty of Azura Circle. Could he not participate? Rules are rules. I won't target him on account of those executives, but the rules state all laborers must participate, or I'll have to answer for it. Kuei Lang, snorted the girl, eyed Zhua Fan. Old Yuan, he's a 6th layer of profound heaven cultivator. He'll live, so don't worry. Kuei Lang nodded. They're letting him in not because they don't care about the executives, but because Zhua Fan will be fine. Elder Yuan nodded as well with a sigh. Twisted-faced Rakshasa Yu Ling, Black Yama. Kuei Lang. That's F*** king bullshit. A man from the crowd pointed at the two on the dais and swore. I know the sect has no demand for target practices. With the outer sect promotion test coming up, you want your little sister to have all the materials to train. I'm reporting you to the sect. The man in the 2nd layer of profound heaven stage flew for the exit. Kuei Lang snorted, and a black wind shot for the man. He cried out in pain as he spat blood and slumped on the ground from the dizziness. The rest trembled in fear. Zhua Fan squinted. Soul attack, but a brutal one at that. It must be related to his cultivation method. Something insidious that has twisted his soul to such a degree. Zhua Fan turned and watched everyone around him. With so many prime materials around, no wonder. Not like it's any of my business. Zhua Fan's eyes took on a sagely light as he shook his head. Inside, a sound then came. That of a bell as Kuei Lang struck the copper bell next to him. Let the Azura circle begin. Deserters will be killed. Chapter 5:26 True Demon. Chapter 5:26 True Demon. A deathly silence ensued. Everyone put up their guards, with eyes darting everywhere for any incoming blow. As the stalemate continued, the pressure only mounted, visible from the sweat pouring out of them. Bam. It was an eighth layer of bone-tempering cultivator who gave the start, flying all of a sudden and landing dead. The others jerked and saw Kuei Lang letting his hand down. If you don't fight, I will do it for you until I reach the quota. As for who the poor devils are, time will tell. Kuei Lang's eyes glinted, gulped. The crowd tensed harder, their eyes turning crazy-eyed. Someone took out a demonic treasure and hacked around him while the rest unleashed their power and picked their closest neighbor whales. Shouts and cries set the stage for the blood spurting everywhere. Dyeing the lit cavern and eerie red corpses littered the ground as they fell. Yet their eyes did not have the panic or shock one would assume, but only fear mixed with madness. Shuafan took it all in with a critical eye. It is madness born out of dread and horror. What started as a fight for survival has devolved into this fanatic killing into oblivion, forgetting even their goal. In a slaughterhouse like this, their inner demons took control while they only played along as puppets on a string to kill, and kill with empty minds consumed by a sick thrill. This was the Azura Circle, a place where one became demons and stopped being human. Whoosh! 1/3 layer of profound heaven expert lost his mind in the madness and targeted Shuafan. Despite the obvious 3-layer gap, Shuafan was tranquil while standing there, breaking his bones and tendons with practiced ease, but not even that agony could wipe the manic grin on the corpse's face. Shuafan shook his head, his mind lacking sadness or joy. Only having serenity, he just stood there among the fanatic killings, unmarred and untouched by its corrupting influence. Only making a move when an overzealous killer went for him, as if he was the eye of the storm. Despite the frantic winds lashing at his clothes, his steel will never wavered at the same time. He was glaringly obvious in the circle. What's with him? Kuei Lang frowned, pointing Shuafan out. Such a bloodthirsty arena makes even my blood boil a bit. So why is he the only one unaffected? It's like he isn't even here. Yu Ling frowned. He is truly an oddity, unlike how a demonic cultivator should be, or any cultivator for that matter. This stage would make even righteous cultivators turn a bloodlust, but he's a true expert. Elder Yuan rubbed his beard, staring at Shuafan with a deep look. Everyone has their demons. As demonic cultivators, we draw them out and refine them to achieve enlightenment about the inner workings of the world. But most people only glare at the surface of their demons, resulting in being consumed by them in a bloodbath like this. Except him, having understood the root of his demons and having tempered his heart to another level, a true demon. The inner demon has no hold over him, while he has it in complete control. Elder Yuan sighed. So young, yet he has such a deep heart. It will bring him a limitless future. Elder Yuan was full of praise, making Kuei Lang and Yu Ling speechless. When did the old-timer turn into a sage? And why is he talking gibberish? Old Yuan, have you lost it? Kuei Lang stared at him. Elder Yuan chuckled, finding himself under their scrutiny. Ha ha ha, it's just my feelings. Please don't mind it. I was just saying that Shuafan is special, someone you should get close to. Bam! Kuei Lang decked Elder Yuan and spat. So your act is to have us look after him? Think you're an expert with your aphorisms? Ha ha. Yeah, I won't ever do it again. Elder Yuan smiled. The two shared glance and shrugged. The old foggy wasn't much to look out, yet his act and preaching almost had them. It gives credence to the saying, the old are hypocrites. And this old guy must have made it into an art. An hour into the killings, the Azura Circle's reverberating roars and shouts of murder never let up. Time in which the ever-collected Shuafan figured he could do some fishing among the chaos while waiting. Kuei Lang figured the killing was enough and sounded the bell, though it wasn't that easy pulling their minds out of their demons' control. No choice but for Kuei Lang and Yu Ling to let their voices out. cease at once. The thunderous sound echoed in the cave, so much even the ground shook. The two's powerful soul, along with their voices, yanked their minds into collapsing. The crazed, killing field turned deathly silent. The living participants held their heads and groaned while flouncing around. The dead forever remained still among the pool of blood, their eyes open. Bloodthirsty, yet empty. Kuei Lang saw Yu Ling's nod and said, "This should last them 2 months." Yu Ling returned the nod, having a rare smile on her lips. But just then, Kuei Lang's smile froze and his eyes widened. "What's wrong?" Yu Ling raised an eyebrow. Kuei Lang lifted a shaky arm. To point, Yu Ling found herself experiencing the same shock as him there. Zhou Fan stood just like before, watching his neighbors with self-confidence. "That's not possible. We used bewitching whispers together. Why is he still standing?" Yu Ling couldn't make sense of it. Kuei Lang surmised, since a profound heaven cultivator's soul has no chance of being stronger than ours, it leaves only one option. He has a soul, demonic treasure. Yu Ling nodded, having reached the same conclusion. "I have said he is special. Sir should take good care of him." Elder Yuan jumped and the two nodded after a pause. Not anyone could just have a soul, demonic treasure. He's just a 6th layer of profound heaven cultivator. Someone must be watching his back to possess such a bauble. The two held Zhou Fan with higher regard on the spot, yet behind this misconception, one finds Zhou Fan a freak of nature with a soul so strong. Not even peak radiant stage could top it. As for backing, Siua did invite him here, but his immense confidence in himself left him to his own devices. He had none, alas. Zhou Fan was neck-deep in mysteries and good at keeping others away. Ahem. Moving on, Kuei Lang turned to the rest of the survivors with a shout. "Grats, people, you have survived another Azure Circle. You're now free to go. There are many tasks that await you tomorrow." Kuei Lang and Yu Ling had others collect the corpses as they left. The lucky men here who still lived left overjoyed at their new lease on life. While only Zhou Fan sneered, "They're no different from cattle, but they're different. They have a hint of hope." Elder Yuan smiled, coming over and seeing everyone gone. Men are selfish and men's hearts have demons. Uprising has no chance of success, and the sect would have long since removed the labor office if it didn't serve its purpose. But to keep that from happening, the sect gave them a slim hope to cultivate hard and they would come out as executive elders at some point. That's why they fight, so that one day they'll excel, while making labor office fulfill its purpose in the meantime. In truth, it's not the sect rearing them, but they're locking themselves inside their pen. Elder Yuan's eyes glinted with disdain, which is perfect. In a world where strength is everything, even here, only the strong make their way forward. As for the weak, the stragglers, death becomes them. Zhou Fan nodded. The world was cruel, its creatures nothing but fodder. It went double for demonic sect's labor office was hell, the supplier for the sect's disciples' cultivation needs, while also being the place where the strong transformed. The survivors of this hellhole were crucial pillars of the sect, having gone through one culling after another, only when to show its importance to the demon-scheming sect. The labor office was empty of anything humane, reduced to mere survival or death. But unlike the world outside that had the same nature, this was a corner of the world free of hypocrisies. Zhou Fan's eyes flashed as his heart and mentality grew, as he understood more about the world he was part of. Chapter 527. She Beneath the Moon. Chapter 527. She Beneath the Moon. With a flash of azure, a flicker of flame appeared on Zhou Fan's forehead. Elder Yuan's eyes bugged out in shock. With a light pop, Zhou Fan's aura doubled. He just stood there like nothing happened, yet his cultivation rose to the 7th layer of profound heaven stage. Elder Yuan was flabbergasted. Having witnessed the Azure Circle, the kid has come to his own discoveries, driving his cultivation to rise. Even though cultivation defines your strength, while the heart defines one's potential, the two are unrelated. Such a case where a heart state improving leads to an increase in cultivation had been far and few since time itself. Yet here and now, Zhou Fan has done it. It is proof of his immense insight, of his great talent. Elder Yuan was stirred watching Zhuo Fan. His throat became dry. When the azure flame withdrew and Zhuo Fan opened his eyes, he found the golden halo in his eyes flashing brighter and brighter. Ugh. Zhuo Fan frowned. Having an old-timer watch him with such heated gaze was not normal. I hate him, Elder Yuan. What is this? If you pin up, don't come to me. I don't swing that way. Elder Yuan recovered from his stupor and beamed. Sir Zhuo must never, ever misunderstand. I may be old, but I am straight. The two burst out laughing. Elder Yuan, I must say, I never thought the materials from the labor office were picked this way. Zhuo Fan and Elder Yuan were walking out. It only makes Elder Yuan's survival over all these years even more peculiar. What's so strange about it? We each live our own lives. The strong have their own path, and so do the weak. Besides, in my days there was no azure circle. The elders came to pick the materials, and in fear of being included, I suppressed my cultivation. Not registering in their eyes meant going on living. And that is how I am the only one reaching such an old age here. It's only natural that they've put me in charge and absolved me from dying here. Then the azure circle, Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow glancing around. Elder Yuan whispered, Zhuo Fan, azure circle is something Sir Kuei Lang came up with when he first came here. Why would he do that? Zhuo Fan asked. Piqued, Elder Yuan smiled. Zhuo Fan, the labor office has two kinds of people. One are the cast-out disciples. They can either resign to their fate as materials or break the mold and become elders. The other type are those demoted here as punishment. They are forever criminals with a short road ahead of them and a high chance of never leaving this place. But the sect has a rule. Those with great merits will have a clean slate. That's what they tell the others. What great merit could a criminal get in the labor office? Zhuo Fan shook his head. Elder Yuan smiled. That's not entirely true. Like I said, the strong will always find a way. Like now, for instance. Keeping Azure Circle going is a great merit. What makes you say that? Zhuo Fan asked. Elder Yuan's eyes glinted. Those in the labor office know the condition, but few manage to escape, which makes everyone mediocre, living their lives like me, who suppress their cultivation to avoid becoming some elder's guinea pig. That makes the materials here dregs. While now, because of the Azure Circle, people here want to live longer and thus have to become stronger and cultivate harder. Soon the materials' quality improved, and the elders were satisfied. And there's an illusion about Azure Circle as well, that they're the masters of their own fate. The dead become materials, while the living continue existing and not get picked by elders. Strength gives you life, while weakness takes it away. With this trend, the level of the labor office will soon reach outer disciples. Especially after Yuling came, adding a few rules. Bone tempering stage needn't join Azure Circle, keeping the new blood pumping and saving them from drying out. Everything was made so that the labor office's standards grew, another great merit. The two of them might even return to the inner sect with their credit. Zhuo Fan nodded. All the two did was use mind games, throwing these abandoned slackers through a murder machine to awaken their ambition. An objective watcher would see them as lambs, but in the Azure Circle, they turn into wild animals who would do anything to survive. Looking at it from another angle, if these people had resources to boost their cultivation, they'd reach far greater heights than even inner disciples. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed. Muttering, does that mean Xiaowu threw me in here to first earn great merit for the sect? What did you say? Elder Yuan stared. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Nothing. I was only lamenting. These two are some mother-fluffing geniuses. It's such a waste letting them be stuck here and not higher up in the sect. Yeah. Elder Yuan nodded. By the way, what were their crimes? Zhuo Fan continued, but Elder Yuan's response was cut short. Russell. The moon hanging in the night sky draped the land in a silver curtain, revealing a delicate figure dancing among the stars with her blade tracing bizarre arches. Zhuo Fan watched the dazed figure, like a fairy, and clapped with a smile. Such exquisite swordsmanship. Miss Yuer. The graceful figure stopped, and Yuer's fine features turned icy. She ignored Zhuo Fan. Looking elsewhere, her cultivation had to stop when Zhuo Fan's cawing resumed. Miss Yuer, what a coincidence. Have you been punished as well since you've come here? Stumbling, Yuer turned a hateful glare. You're the one punished. True, I am in the labor office. Fan answered with a smile. Yuer was lost for words, gnashing her teeth. Elder Yuan was giggling at the side. Yuer mocked in the end. When you arrived, you said you'd be an elite, but sect leader didn't even let you in the hall, throwing you in the labor office. You only know how to boast. How did you know that I didn't enter the hall? Were you looking out for me? I didn't know you cared. Fan chuckled. Yuer flushed and raged. Who would? Everyone knows about your scandal now. You're the first person to not even get to see the sect leader before getting dumped in the labor office. I see. Fan's eyes glinted. He was sure someone was keeping an eye on him when he entered the sect. There was no way that a common disciple's matter would spread otherwise. Not so fast, at least, but he reckoned all of this stopped the moment he was placed in the labor office, or with how the labor office was filled with all kinds of people. There was no way he wouldn't detect something after so many days. Fan smiled. Miss Yuer, did perhaps senior sister Mayor miss me as well? Senior sister didn't care one. Yuer caught herself and blushed harder. Fan had played her again, and she was irate. I don't care about you. Haha. Elder Yuan laughed. Fan is just like the rumors say, cunning and sly. An ignorant miss won't stand a chance. It was the worst possible reaction as Yuer's eyes flashed with bloodthirst, and she slashed at them. Since she was put on the spot, Elder Yuan cowered behind Fan on the double, while Fan just stood there, grabbing her soft wrist before the blade touched him. She cried out as the blade fell from her grip, and she frowned. Fan let her go at once. I've barely used any strength, so how could it hurt? Don't tell me you're still wounded from last time. None of your business. Yuer huffed just then. Another cute voice came. How dare you mess with my sister? Chapter 528, Mission. Chapter 528, Mission. The wind whistled in the biting cold gale. A figure in red landed. Keeping Yuer behind her, Fan found her to be none other than twisted-faced Rakshasa. Yuling. Fan was taken aback. She's your little sister? Yuling burst with bloodthirst. I don't care who protects you, but you've messed with my sister and must die. You're not the first prattling fool who has said that to me, nor the last. Fan snorted. Yuling's fists tightened, her mood sinking lower. Yet her determination to attack faltered. She couldn't believe that a 60/7th layer of profound heaven cultivator would dare talk back to a third layer of radiant stage expert. It only meant one thing. He's got strong enough backing to ignore even the likes of twisted-faced Rakshasa. It would be all too easy to kill the punk here and now. But then she wouldn't be alone in this mess. Her little sister would suffer too, so her thirst for blood ebbed. Elder Yuan jumped in with a smile. Miss Yuling, it's all just a misunderstanding. Miss Yuer was practicing while we passed by. There's no conflict here. Fan was just praising her form. Right, Miss Yuer? Elder Yuan begged Yuer with his eyes. Is it true, Yuer? Yuling turned around. She didn't want to cause trouble over nothing. But if the punk did it on purpose, he'll get justice all right. Yuer glared at Fan, but nodded. They didn't do anything. It was I who attacked first. Fan nodded inside. The lass is stubborn, but simple, doing everything by the book. How admirable. But Yuling was unreasonable. That must mean he instigated you. Humph, damn brat. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Yuling pulled Yuer away as she warned. No one in this place is good, Yuer. Better stay away from that guy. If anything happens, come find me or senior sister Mayor, all right? Yes, sister. Yuer was meek as a lamb, but on her way away, she sneaked a glance at Fan, scrunched up her cute button nose, and stuck her tongue at him. Fan was speechless. Hey, is this how it's done? Her sister is to blame, yet she takes it out on me? There's no justice in the world, only the strong preying on the weak. Elder Yuan sighed, like a calamity had passed. And Yuling has only let this go because she didn't know of your backing. But you better watch out for her tricks. Fan shook his head. How could I forget? This is a demonic sect, and anyone can attack without excuse or warning. While outside, no matter how much one hates you, he needs a pretext if he doesn't want a bad name. Elder Yuan, was Yuling gathering materials for Miss Yuer? Zhua Fan frowned. Elder Yuan nodded. Yu Ling is called Rakshasa, with a nasty temper and vile tendencies, but always dotes on her little sister. It was because of Yuer that she ended up in the labor office. Her little sister had poor talent and would have ended up in the labor office, so she stole a 7th grade pill from the alchemy office to remold her sister's body, leading to today's Yuer and the punished Yu Ling, who had the makings of an elite. Oh, she's quite fond of her baby sister, huh? Zhua Fan nodded and sighed. But her kindness is destructive. Why? Elder Yuan frowned. Zhua Fan paused. I heard Yueker trains in the demon-devouring saber. The crux of it lies in the demon-devouring, swallowing thousands of demonic auras and grudges to increase the blade art's power and triggering the demons of the users. It would go as far as being able to kill everything in one's path. A shame. What? A shame for Yuer's poor condition. Zhua Fan shook his head. Training in her state would have her demons swallow her into madness, and she will fall apart. Sigh. Yu Ling is sure to regret it. Just that her twisted hand should have been healed with a simple pill, so why isn't it healed after 2 days? Elder Yuan frowned as he caressed his beard, his eyes flashing. Why didn't you say anything? After they yelled in my face, die in this or that way. I couldn't care less about their fate. Zhua Fan twisted his head away. Elder Yuan shook his head. From your analysis, I figured you cared a lot. For them, we have nothing tying us, so why should I? I'm no love-struck fool. Zhua Fan snorted. I only found it suspicious. I fear the only peaceful place in the sect will lose its tranquility. Elder Yuan smiled. Zhua Fan, this is the labor office, the cruelest place in the sect. How is it peaceful? Elder Yuan, you won't understand. Here is either kill or be killed, live or die. Isn't this simple interaction peaceful? With the schemes and plots outside, where would you find another place like this? Elder Yuan held his gaze, then smiled. Sir Zhua has great insight. You're right, this place is pretty peaceful. Ha ha. Zhua Fan laughed along as they walked. They discussed on the way about Dao and its mysteries and clicked together, wishing they'd met earlier. Zhua Fan had earned big time from their talks, but so did Elder Yuan in this night. The hearts of these two had grown, widening their path into a longer future. On the morrow, Zhua Fan finished cultivating only to find a panicking Elder Yuan bursting in. Zhua Fan, come with me. Another gathering? I didn't hear any bells. Zhua Fan asked. Azura Circle was just last night, yet starting again? If they keep this up, the entire labor office will be empty in 3 days. Azura Circle can't start whenever. They won't dare do it so soon. But as this is the labor office, work begins early in the morning, and you need to sweep the elders and venerables' homes. How come I didn't do that the first 2 days here? Zhua Fan eyed him. Elder Yuan rolled his eyes. I covered for you. But after last night's Azura Circle, I can no longer help you. And that Yu Ling must have put your name in for revenge. She has the authority? Aren't you the chief here? Hey, I told you already, I am only chief on the surface. Here, power is everything. Elder Yuan lamented, I can't force you with my meager cultivation, so please don't make it hard on me. Zhua Fan shook his head and jumped out of bed. Since they were friends, there was no point taking it out on the old man. But on those broads, snorting inside, Zhua Fan followed Elder Yuan to a square with poor houses. Others had already gathered here, with Kuei Lang and Yu Ling standing in front. Seeing Zhua Fan, everyone gave him a cold eye and bloodthirst. Zhua Fan squinted, his mind ready. Now that everyone's here, we will assign tasks. Yu Ling took the roster from Elder Yuan. Zhang Fugui, Li Yongchong, you're to clean Venerable Shi's room. Wang Tianlei, Zhang Mingqi, you're going to Elder Liang's bedroom. Everyone's name got called. The first 3 walked forward and bowed before taking a broom from the side. As they skipped about, Zhua Fan found it odd. What's there to be perky about when cleaning? Is there a reward involved? Soon, only Zhua Fan's name remained unheard. With Yu Ling sporting a nasty grin, Zhua Fan, take the broom and clean sect leader's bedroom. The other laborers cracked up. Enjoying his plight, Zhua Fan didn't get the joke. What's so funny? But since he wanted to go to sect leader's home at some point, this was the perfect chance Xia Wuyue. Just why the hell did you bring me here? You better have some good reason for this. Chapter 529. Seeing Xia Wuyue. Chapter 529. Seeing Xia Wuyue. Under the sun's glorious warmth, a youngster and an old man passed pavilions and many crossings to arrive at an opulent grand hall. Elder Yuan pointed at a magnificent roof and warned, "Zhuo Fan, here are sect leaders' chambers, a total of 273 rooms. You must be very thorough in cleaning each of them." "Blast it, 200? Did he ever use them all?" Zhuo Fan grumbled. Elder Yuan waved his hands around and hushed him in panic. "This is the prestige of a sect leader. Us, laborers, cannot make light of this or else." Elder Yuan put on a heavy look. Zhuo Fan got it. A demonic sect's leader was no pushover nor a kind grandpa. Anyone talking behind his back might soon find an untimely end. But yours truly was the exception, since Xia Wuyue had recruited him personally. Why go through all that trouble just to kill him out of pettiness? He'd fail as a sect leader. Zhuo Fan's mind worked to wring out how far he could push it. "Fine, I'm going to work." Zhuo Fan walked to the hall with the broom. Elder Yuan panicked, pulling him back. "Zhuo Fan, always remember, the sect leader is idiosyncratic and a clean freak. Sweep down to the last speck of dust. Getting sect leader unhappy would make our heads roll." Do you know why the others were so happy to go to the other elders' houses? Because they didn't want to clean sect leader's house. Yuling gave it to you on purpose, to have sect leader remove you in her place. You must exercise caution at all times. Your life depends on it. "Oh, thanks for the reminder, Elder Yuan." Zhuo Fan nodded and cupped his hands, but showed no change in character, hanging the broom on his shoulder like before, strutting into the hall as if he had come to rob the place. Not clean it. Elder Yuan's face twitched, the kid's too wild and fearless. In the building, gold and jade decorations welcomed him. At the far center was a jade long chair, very expensive. There were wall chandeliers on each side, made with utmost attention to detail. The image was complete with stands holding exquisite vases, adding an air of elegance. To sum it up, it was quite magnificent, but not excessive, glorious, but not ostentatious. It got Zhuo Fan's stamp of approval. From the style alone, he guessed Xia Wuyue was a man of mystery, keeping everything to himself. A cultivator with a high-mentality cough. Zhuo Fan jerked and noticed a youth in silk and having cruel eyes looking back at him from the entrance. The youth was amazed the instant he saw his face. "Zhuo Fan?" "Xia Wuyue?" Eyebrow twitching, Zhuo Fan called back, grinning and nodding. Xia Wuyue passed him and sat on the jade chair. "Ha ha ha. That's not quite right, but Zhuo Fan, since you're now in my sect, the least you should do is call me sect leader." "Sect leader?" Grinning back, this was Zhuo Fan's first time meeting Xia Wuyue in the flesh. Last time was just his soul, but he saw no features, just a shadow. "May I ask, sect leader, after going through so much hard work, traveling thousands of miles to find me, and paying a 9th grade pill to recruit me, was it all just to have me sweep floors?" Looking him in the eye, he lifted the broom and held it like a club, ready to go at it. Xia Wuyue chuckled. "I would lose too much letting you just sweep for a 9th grade pill. Tell me, where exactly do you look like a hard-working and conscious sweeper?" Zhuo Fan checked himself and shook his head. He could sweep enemies, but failed to sweep floors. Laughing, Xia Wuyue turned serious. "Zhuo Fan, I have brought you here with the intention to have you become an elite by being sect leader's disciple and represent the sect in the Double Dragon Gathering. But High Venerable questioned your ability and had you put in the labor office for trial." "I understand High Venerable's worries, but out of the elites, inner disciples, outer disciples, and labor office, did it have to be the worst one? I'm a 7th layer profound heaven cultivator, for crying out loud. You don't even qualify as an outer disciple. And what's that Double Dragon Gathering anyway? It's too soon for you to know. As for High Venerable's decision, I am to blame. I've praised you so much that High Venerable grew skeptical and thus put you in the labor office. If you're that great, then you should be able to stand out even there." I thought the same, so I agreed. Since with your skills, getting great merit should be easy. Xia Wuyue snickered. Zhuo Fan's face twitched all this while flipping, shove it. At least give me something to work with. How am I supposed to get merit without some guidelines? Without attached labor offices from the rest, I won't achieve anything. Besides, the merit of strengthening laborers falls on Yu Ling and Kuei Lang. What am I supposed to do? It's all in your hands now to figure out, to prove to the whole sect what you can do. If you can't surpass even those two, you'll be stuck in the labor office forever. He brushed off his impeccable sleeves and stopped spouting vulgarities in front of me. This will be your only warning. The next time you'll be sorry. Got that? Freaking show off. Scratching his nose, Zhuofan nodded, yeah. Great, now start sweeping. I want to see for myself if you're qualified for labor. Xiao snickered this grand and mighty Aravista, the same one that cleaned up Tianyu of all factions and was hailed as best in the empire. Was sweeping floors Xiao? He giggled inside. Zhuofan rolled his eyes, grumbled inside, and the broom flew from his shoulder, releasing a gale. A yellow wave spread from his foot along the floor with crazy speed in an instant. The dust picked up so much it was like a tornado got stuffed in the hall cough. Xiao Yue covered his mouth and nose while shouting, Enough! Stop this instant! Do you hear me? What could possibly be wrong? Sect leader. Zhuofan halted and the tornado vanished. Xiao Yue glared, a vein popping on his forehead. You did that on purpose. Is this how you sweep? You're looking for a beating. Is it not? But it's clean. Zhuofan pointed below him with a straight face. It was damn spotless, without the slightest grain of dust on the paved floor. But the earlier blue stones had now turned white, eyebrow twitching. Xiao Yue balled his fists. You're only alive because I have great plans for you. Fine. Now stop sweeping and do something else. And Zhuofan was too obedient, spinning on his heel and leaving. Yet he only took a step and heard a crisp sound holding the broom under his arm. It accidentally hit a vase. Now turned to pieces. Xiao Yue held his head in annoyance. Zhuofan waved his hands. Sect leader, I'll fix it right up. He rushed to pick up the pieces, but the broom swung again under his arm and sent a jade carving flying, sending fragments all over the clean floor. As it shattered, Xiao Yue's eyebrow jumped, his eyes burning red hot, wishing nothing more than to tear Zhuofan into nothing. It's all right, sect leader. I'll handle it. Zhuofan manned up, but Xiao Yue had had enough. Handle your dumbass. You're only making it worse. Now scram the hell out. You're clearly here to pick a fight. Don't ever sweep again and figure out a way to get out of the labor office. Yes, sect leader. Zhuofan snickered inside. Skipping out of the hall, Xiao Yue was left alone in his jade throne, watching him go, filled with rage. Turning to the pristine floor, now filled with rubble, his wrath knew no bounds. Chapter 530, Patsy. Chapter 530, Patsy. Man, Xiao Yue screeched, his eyes thick with bloodthirst. A short old man ran inside and shivered at the incoming killing intent. He rushed to greet. Sect leader, why is Sir so angry? Are you blind or what? Can't you see the floor? Xiao Yue snorted. The man looked around to find the once tidy sect leader hall filled with dust, chinas, and jade carvings on the ground in pieces. Shuddering to wipe his brow, he said, This? I do not. I will handle it right away. Wait. The guy rushed to find the culprit and hang him for his crimes, lest the sect leader took his anger out himself. But Xiao wasn't through by a long shot, barking, You don't have to go, I know who did it. Sect leader knows? The man's brain was all a mush with your temper. You should have executed him by now. I should be here to fetch his corpse. But where is it? The guy looked everywhere. Xiao Yue knew what he was thinking and said, A laborer came here to sweep. Yeah, those wastes must be at fault. God damn it. They are so stupid that they even broke sect leader's stuff. The old man fumed and cut Xiao Yue off. Sect leader, I will look into it and bring back the culprit's head. He got up to leave again, but Xiao Yue shouted, Get back here. I didn't ask you to leave, did I? Faltering, the man lowered his head. Sect leader, what would you ask of me? Stay right there and let me finish. Xiao Yue stressed every word the man bobbed like a chicken. Xiao Yue continued. The name of the laborer is Zhuofan. It's great that the sect leader knows his name. I'll go get him at once. The old-timer clapped and laughed, but Xie Wuyue's cold glare cut his joy short. He gave himself a couple of slaps until his cheeks swelled. Sect leader said not to move. "Sai, I'm so careless." Xie Wuyue ignored this episode. Zhuo Fan is at fault, but no one can touch him. So get out there and find me the son of a bitch that put him on sweeping duty and waste him. Xie Wuyue's face was a mask of malice, his tone so icy. The old-timer shivered. What he got from the outburst, though, was, why skip the culprit and have his handler answer for it? This has never happened before. With this example, no one would ever send a sweeper to sect leader's home. They'd draw straws to decide, but since Xie Wuyue didn't explain, in no way was he going to ask, just bowed and walked backwards. Xie Wuyue was left alone again, among the rubbish, and his anger spiked in the labor office. The people were returning after completing their tasks to hand over the tools Kuei Lang. Yu Ling and Elder Yuan took stock and found that out of all disciples, only Zhuo Fan was missing. Elder Yuan frowned with worry. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang had a twisted smile. The guy must be done for. Kuei Lang snickered. Yu Ling nodded, her eyes glinting. Sect leader has a vile temper, picky about everything. Many laborers failed to satisfy sect leader's demands and paid with their lives. The kid has just arrived and is going into sect leader's home. He's sure to flop. Hi. The kid won't be coming back. Everyone laughed, reveling in another's misfortune. Only Elder Yuan sighed. Yu Ling, we can't do it ourselves because of the kid's backing, but getting on sect leader's bad side. He will end up dead all the same. No one in the demon scheming sect will make a peep. He contradicted his betters yesterday, and now he is toast. Kuei Lang smiled at Yu Ling. Yu Ling nodded, but then a thunderous shout came from above. They saw a small old man flying over. All managers of the labor office, get out now. Isn't that executive son of the sect leader's hall? Kuei Lang smiled. Yu Ling's smile grew. The kid must have done it now. Executive usually just barks at us for a while, then sends us to fetch a corpse. That must be it. But was it a win or a loss getting yelled at for killing that prick? It's a loss for us and a win for the kid. Think about it. For a waste like him to get a radiant stage expert's tongue lashing must be his fortune. Haha. Kuei Lang laughed. Right, huh? The two laughed until Executive Son approached. Executive Son, you honor us with your presence. I am Yuan Xingong, a manager of the labor office. Sod off. You think I don't know who's in charge of labor office? You're just a glorified manager. That's it. Get Yu Ling and Kuei Lang to see me. Executive Son flicked his sleeve and snapped. Elder Yuan shirked back. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang rushed over with a bow. Greetings, Executive Sunday. What are your orders? Orders? Giving any orders to you will soon have my head served on a silver platter, dragging me with you into hell. Executive Son snapped. What kind of disciple did you send to sweep sect leader's hall? He didn't just botch it, but wrecked the place. He almost tore the whole hall apart. It is our fault. Please ease your anger, Executive Son. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling bobbed their heads, putting on a pained look, yet their hearts jumped with glee. The punk must have struck a calamity. He's definitely toast. Yu Ling apologized again, then probed. Executive Son, we will deal with his body at once and clean up the hall. His body? I didn't say anything about a corpse. Executive Son eyed them coldly. The two were stumped. Did the sect leader wipe him off the face of this world? Squinting in joy, Yu Ling added. Executive Son sneered. Keep dreaming. The kid ran. He's not in the sect leader's hall. He ran. Both of them shouted. He got off after such a disaster? That punk sure is something. Kuei Lang bowed at once. Executive Son, he can't escape. I will search the entire sect if I have to. We cannot trouble inner and outer disciples over this. Search? When sect leader himself, let him run. Sect leader doesn't even blame him for his mistake. Executive Son roared dong. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang's brains were hammered, looking lost and dumb. He wrecked everything, yet sect leader let him go. That's not his style. Executive Son saw through them with a sneer. Even I couldn't believe it after so many years around sect leader. But this is sect leader's order, that no one can touch Shuo Fan. And who was the damn bastard who put him on sweeping duty at sect leader's home? Sect leader want a punching bag. Executive son's bloodthirst slammed into them shivering. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang were soaked in sweat. Zhang Fugue, I thought I told you to sweep sect leader's home. Why did you make Zhuo Fan do it instead? Kuei Lang's eyes roamed around until they settled on a disciple Zhang Fugue shirked, scared out of his mind. No, I swept venerable sure. Silence. I told you to sweep sect leader's home, yet you put Zhuo Fan on it? Don't you know that the more seasoned disciples must take care of it? A newbie like him was bound to wreck the place. You were pushing others around and got sect leader furious. For your offense, you shall die. Bam! Kuei Lang dumped all kinds of crimes on his head and struck before he could explain the fierce gale, made him spit blood and breathe his last. Becoming Kuei Lang and Yu Ling's patsy, he didn't know even now how he had earned their ire, what he did to deserve this. Chapter 531, Special Background. Chapter 531, Special Background. Bang! Zhang Fugue's corpse hit the ground with blood leaking from every hole. His eyes wide open and oblivious, the other disciples stepped back. Shivering in fear, Kuei Lang bowed at Executive Son again. Executive Sir, I have dealt with the perpetrator. Were Sir's commands? Executive Son was an old weasel as well, knowing when not to question, and just warned, Kuei Lang, Yu Ling, I don't care about what personal game you're playing, but stay out of the sex affairs, or else. Executive Son left the threat hanging with savage killing intent, making the two bob their heads in fear. Also, Executive Son continued, in my decade alongside sect leader, I hardly ever saw him raging like this. But even rarer was a rage that he bottled up. That Zhuo Fan may be a laborer, but you better watch it next time. The two's hearts sank, grimacing. Who the hell is he, for not even sect leader would touch him? This is a small matter, but from the sect leader's attitude. The two felt even worse. Executive Son flicked his sleeve. Since the culprit is punished, I'll be reporting my progress. You better behave. Executive Son took to the skies. The two bowed again. Take care, Executive Son. They only straightened when the man was gone from their sights. Their eyes filled with shock. Elder Yuan came over giggling. I told you so. Zhuo Fan isn't normal. Shove off. The two snapped. Elder Yuan shirked and faltered. The two dealt with the corpse, and the other disciples disbanded. Waiting around the labor office for Zhuo Fan to arrive, they waited and waited, well into the evening. That was when Zhuo Fan strutted over with the broom on his shoulder. Yu Ling gnashed her teeth, enraged. Zhuo Fan, now you show up? Where have you been? Don't you know you must return after your task? Nope, no one told me. Zhuo Fan said simply. Yu Ling felt awkward. Her and Kuei Lang lost for words. They had put him on sect leader's home with the obvious intention to not see him again. Wasting words on a dead guy wasn't anyone's hobby, yet this schmuck didn't just return, but even talked back. He's got such backing that not even the sect leader wants to mess with him. The two watched Zhuo Fan with fear and suspicion. They were dying to put him in his place, but the fear of his backers overwrote that desire. So the two were at an impasse, staring at the stuck-up Zhuo Fan showing off his swag, bottling the rage. Kuei Lang said, since it's your first strike and did not know, I'll overlook it. But next time you will be punished. The fact that he didn't take Zhuo Fan's head on the spot showed clearly that he didn't want to mess with Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan grinned. They must have got the news all ready to crush their own pride. But Zhuo Fan cared not one bit. Sure, I'll be waiting then. He passed the two with a roll of his eyes, not even looking at them. Hey, is this how you act? You're under us, a laborer, yet you're ordering us? Kuei Lang was this close to exploding. Yu Ling glared at his back, but reined all the hatred in. Kuei Lang, he has a special background. Before we're clear what that is exactly, we best not tackle him. We will figure it all out once we look into him. Kuei Lang nodded, flaring his nostrils. While the next tasks were handed out, only Zhuo Fan was left idle, since no one pushed any work on him when it came to elders. This young master must have one hell of a background to act all cocky. What was worse, anything the two tried would backfire. The earlier case showed it. They got him to sweep sect leader's home, yet he played around until sect leader vented on the labor office if they were any more late in reacting. they'd have ended up as patsies. Yu Ling lost all intent to mess with Zhuo Fan, even hoping for the latter to not come looking for trouble. It went so far that every time tasks were handed out, they singled Zhuo Fan out in cleaning the most desolate places, like the ancestral cemetery, the plaza, or at the entrance man by two pupils welcoming guests. Stuff like that, those were the only places he couldn't cause trouble at, or any mess he made could be covered. Zhuo Fan spent the next 2 months carefree and easygoing, totally ignoring Xie Wuyue's advice. As for getting some credit to participate in the Double Dragon Thingy, thanks, but no thanks. He had all the peace and quiet needed to cultivate here in the labor office. Strutting like a man with a supposedly high background, others gave him a wide berth. Only the old man with a broad mentality dropped by to debate on the Tao. All in all, life was good, lavishing in the tranquility he had yearned for so long. As for the labor office being dirt poor in regards to resources, humph. Make way. Money bags coming through. Zhuo Fan couldn't be happier these few months, just around the time the demon scheming sex intersect promotion began. Not that he ever gave a damn. Ah hey him, it falls to us, labor office, to build the outer disciple promotion stage. Work hard, people. If 3 days later something is out of place and the competition can't be held, it's your ass on the line. Kuei Lang, Yu Ling, and Elder Yuan spoke to the laborers. Kuei Lang was using his big voice to intimidate them. What he got instead was mockery. They're just fighting. What's the point of making a show out of it? Are outer disciples so useless that they can't fight without a stage? Our Azure Circle is far more fitting. The others covered their mouths. Everyone knew who it was without even looking. The only one to contradict their two bosses in the labor office like a true wastrel was Zhuo Fan, with his special background so special that even these two prodigal children filled with hot air could only gnash their teeth. This had been going on over the past few months, quipping at them whenever the chance presented itself. Zhuo Fan, stop complaining. Do you want to live or not? Kuei Lang fumed. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Want? Kuei Lang looked like he was about to cry. He was the boss in the labor office, but ever since this prick showed up, his name had plunged and plunged at the hands of this obnoxious tyrant. He was a damn spoiled brat. Yu Ling held her head, lamenting her fate. She never nitpicked with the kid, but the brat had other plans, bothering the hell out of them every time and pissing them off. Just why do all elders and venerables' prodigal sons end up in the labor office? At least take some of them to the outer sect. But they all knew this prodigal son would one day get bumped up at some point and leave. But when in a few years, anything would be better than being stuck in the same place with him. Squinting, they glared at the unfazed Zhuo Fan, then sighed at their misfortune. Elder Yuan laughed it up. Dad. Sister. The two sudden voices caught everyone by surprise. They watched two young people rushing over. One with a lovely girl Zhuo Fan knew, and the other was a youth in his 20s wearing fancy clothes and bearing a striking resemblance with Kuei Lang. His son probably wearer, and Kuei Lang smiled on seeing each other. But Zhuo Fan eyed the limp hand of Yuer with a sharp look, still damaged. Chapter 532, Dangerous Smile. Chapter 532, Dangerous Smile. Yuer, how is your practice of demon-devouring saber going? Are you confident in this outer sect promotion? Yu Ling smiled at her baby sister, faltering for a moment. Yuer revealed a disarming smile. It won't be a problem. Nearby, Kuei Lang was patting his son's shoulder, laughing. You'd better become an inner disciple in this competition, or all your old man's effort would be for naught. Dad, I won't let you down. The youth's eyes showed conviction. Kuei Lang smiled in pride with Yu Ling. Yu Ling, who do you think will win if my son and your sister fight? Kuei Lang raised an eyebrow. Yu Ling held supreme confidence. Where, of course. No, it's my son. He's stronger. Kuei Lang shook his head. Yu Ling glared. My sister. My son. Sister. The two went back and forth, with the argument getting heated by the second. While Yuer and the youth just shrugged. The outer sect competition is around the corner, and you're squabbling as if you're the one going up there. Zhuo Fan crept up on them like a ghost, saying, it's more likely to end as a draw. No one's really better than the other. They're equal, right? Ugh. The two focused their anger on Fan, shouting, "Beat it!" Shirking, Fan grinned and walked away. Kuei Lang glared. Fan, what a rotten mouth you have. My son is about to enter the competition, yet you have nothing nice to say? Are you mocking him instead, hoping that he would lose? If anything happens to you, you will be sorry. Yuling's eyes grew savage like a tigress. Baring her fangs, Fan shrugged. Not my problem. And you started it. In the competition, it is either win-lose, lose-win, or draw. How could I have a smooth sailing? Oh, they were left speechless, resorting to snorts and flicking their sleeves. Fan, you sure pack a sharp mouth. Kuei Lang sighed. Feeling powerless, this punk would one day kill me. Due to anger alone, Yuer pouted and sulked. I get that he always annoys me every time we meet, but why is sister enraged too? While the young man was dumbfounded at the weird, seeing his old man was pretty well known even among the inner sect. Ending up cast out in the labor office ought to make him king. But who was this guy with clearly weaker cultivation to talk back to his dad? And why isn't dad doing anything about it? This situation stinks to high heaven, looking at the cringing laborers standing in line. Only Fan did what he wanted, to perform his circus act as a mockery to these two leaders. It only worked to deepen his doubts, though. Dad, he is... The youth pointed at Fan. Kuei Lang groaned, to which Fan laughed and stuck out his chest. I am your father's fellow disciple, Fan. Since you're his son, call me Senior Uncle Zhua for now. Senior Uncle Zhua, I am Kuei Gang. Greetings. The kid got intimidated and responded quickly, while Kuei Lang rushed over and helped his son up while cursing. Ganger, you can't be so naive to get duped so easily. This punk is some prodigal son for sure. But he has nothing to do with me at all, so how can you call him Senior Uncle? Kuei Lang glared at Fan. Rotten punk. I can take your crass remarks and quips, but know when to quit. Don't ever mess with my son. So what if I call you my fellow brother? It is your honor. When your son comes crying to his uncle, I might just ignore him. Fan shrugged with a grin that deserved a beating. Kuei Lang was about to blow a gasket, yet had no way to vent. Kuei Gang was dumbstruck. Why all the mockery then, if the young guy wasn't his dad's fellow disciple? How can dad still take it? The laborers knew fully well why. Snickering inside, and giving Fan a thumbs up on the sly. Fan's background was a huge nebula, but at least his prodigal son wasn't hard on fellow laborers, taking it out on the two bosses. It was like he was the labor office's spokesman. Kuei Lang pulled Kuei Gang, pointing at Fan with a hard face. Ganger, see that? He is a nobody, using his connections to get into the sect. He might one day end up an elder executive, but he won't achieve anything in life. So don't hang out with the likes of him. He'll drag you down. You're bound to go higher than him. Yuling did the same with her sister, wearing her disgust on her face, while pointing at Fan became the two's perfect negative example. Fan grinned uncaringly. So what if I'm a prodigal son? Aren't you the same, using your meager pull to give your connections materials to train? Humph! There's no end to human greed. With power comes skimming. It's only logical. What will be the point of power then? You're mocking me for being a prodigal son when in fact you want to follow in my footsteps and pick on others. We're all demonic cultivators here. What's so great about showing off while faking innocence? Fan had a flat tone, but no matter how it sounded, he had mocked the two Kuei Gang, and Yuer nodded. Fan's wording was a tad blunt, but made damn good sense. They had to believe him. The more you hate someone, the more you want to be like them. But no one wanted to admit their envy. Humph, enough of your sophistry. Yuer and Ganger have good talents and are hardworking. They're sure to advance. All we do is give our best in supporting them. Unlike you, wasting your life away as you wait for death, stuck in the same dead-end position. You don't know any martial arts, and the only reason you live through a Jura circle is because of your high cultivation. I bet you'd sooner meet your end in the circle before your patron busts you out of here. Kuei Lang shouted, trying to salvage a modicum of self-respect. Fan only had a taunting look. Ignorant man, martial skills are only tools while cultivation is the core. I know no martial arts, but my heart and my mind are solely on the Tao, helping me see through its mysteries in advance. Insight is the essence of cultivation, of skills and cultivation methods. Focusing on being staunch, yet neglecting fundamentals, is so laughable. Kuei Lang paused, then shouted, "Jua Fan W, what did you say?" I didn't catch that. Don't. The minds of everyone exploded, wearing long faces and holding their heads at his awkward look. Kuei Gang was blushing in shame. Dad sucks at quarreling, not even getting what the other party says. Then again, that was who he was, a guy who relied on his fists, alas. He couldn't use them this time. Elder Yuan sighed. The disciples of this sect always fought and were ruthless, emphasizing ability over Tao. For even a radiant stage expert like Kuei Lang to be so ignorant of the Tao, he could only lament, if this went on, demon scheming sect would be stuck in the lower 3 sect for thousands of years. Yet Zhua Fan, who had come from the secular world, had amazing insights on Tao. Him leading the sect would move the sect down the right path, towards a glorious future. Elder Yuan's eyes shined. Oh, what's all the hubbub? Why are laborers sitting around idle? A teasing voice said. They all turned to see an elegant woman swinging her hips. With how the labor office was filled with men, they all gulped at such a fine specimen entering their pen, only to lower their heads the next second. Because this creature was another savage beast, she was no other than who Mayor Zhui Fan sneered inside. Her kind smile only hides daggers. The last time she showed up, he ended up getting sneak attacked, and this time something was bound to happen as well. Only the target isn't me this time around. Zhua Fan followed her vixen eyes and arrived at Yuling and her sister. Chapter 533, Nimble Laborer. Chapter 533, Nimble Laborer. Senior Sister Mayor, it's been a while. Yuling cupped her hands, coming over with her sister. Thank you for watching over Yuer while I was away. I can never repay your gratitude. With a melodious voice, whom Mayor waved her off. We're all sisters here. Oh, Yuer, how's your practice going? Senior Sister, I am now proficient. Yuer cupped her hands, landing her hand hard on Yuer's shoulder, whom Mayor spoke her earnest feelings. Yuer, you must work hard. Look how much your sister has done for you. You can't let all her efforts go to waste. You must advance. Yuer frowned in pain, but her face hardened with a nod, whom Mayor's eyes glinted and beamed. Yuling smiled as well, happy that Yuer was taking care of. Zhua Fan watched from afar with sharp eyes. Oh, Ganger, how is your blood annihilation training going? Mayor turned to Kuei Gang with the most caring look. Kuei Gang nodded. Good. I've been making great progress these days, Senior Aunt Mayor. I will definitely advance. Mayor's smile turned sinister. Kuei Lang brought his son over. Junior Sister Mayor, it is all thanks to you that Ganger has such confidence in the competition, for giving us the blood annihilation martial art only the inner sect disciples can access. With me and Yuling cast out, we are blessed to have you, even using your chance to enter the scripture hall for us. Thank you. Senior brother, we've always been fellow disciples, and that will never change. Of course I'd help. With you in trouble, I of course had to stick out for the juniors like a senior aunt. Mayor smiled. Kuei Lang was touched to tears. She is one of the few reliable people in the sect. Ganger, here is the 5th grade spirit blood pill. When you feel like your time in the competition is too hard, take it, and I assure you you'll soar. It works well with blood annihilation, doubling its effect. Mayor's enchanting smile came out as she presented a vial. Kuei Gang trembled with gratitude and was filled with excitement. This pill was what he needed the most. A 5th grade pill was a rarity for outer disciples. Even more so were the pills for the battlefield. He might not just pass the promotion, but even attract an elder's attention. Kuei Lang was touched to the core. Mayor, you're like a mother to him. Senior brother, please don't say that. Mayor blushed, and Kuei Lang chuckled. The audience watched with envy. With her care, Wearer and Kuei Gang are bound to become inner disciples, following in their father and sister's glory. Unlike them who were stuck in this hellhole for all their lives, fighting for their lives in the Azure Circle just to survive a little while longer. Senior brother, junior sister, I'll let you finish the stage. I wouldn't want to delay you in case you end up getting chided. You and gang your work had you too. Don't always stay at your dad and sister's side. You're all so big now. Hi, hi, hi. Humayer smiled, batted her eyes, and flew away. You and Kuei gang were happy to have her. Yuling and Kuei Lang were grateful, as well. Only Zhua Fan popped up next to them with a sour tone. That sister is too mean, leaving without even looking at me. To think that she was luring me so hard when I just got here, but now that I've hit rock bottom, she only cares about herself. Humph. What did you say? All four glared at him. No one would accept someone speaking ill of their friend. Zhua Fan faltered back and snorted. You won't believe me, but I'm a good judge of character. She is no angel, that's for sure. She's only helping you to further her games. Seeing we're all companions in a labor office, let me remind you, you never truly know a person. Shut your pie hole. Kuei Lang snapped. I know the intersect is filled with cruel and petty people who sow dissent like you. Right is right, and demonic is demonic. The demon-scheming sect still cares about right and wrong. We once helped junior sister Mayor, and now she is repaying it. So stop your false accusations, you ignorant fool. Squinting, Zhua Fan had a feeling what was about to happen, and sighed, nourishing a viper in one's bosom. He can't even see it, and fell for it as well. Such schemes were the order of the day in a demonic sect. It wasn't just idiotic, but utterly laughable to believe the other party would return the favor, and kind the sorrow, brought back memories of his self-destruction in the sacred domain. He stepped closer with a respectful look, making the 4 days then. He reached for Kuei Gang's hand and squeezed SSS. Kuei Gang felt a searing pain shooting through his heart. What are you doing? Kuei Lang broke them off, glaring with hatred at Zhua Fan, but was more shocked than ever. There was close to a full stage difference, yet he couldn't pick on Zhua Fan's intent to attack his son, having it happen right under his nose. He felt fear and dread. Zhua Fan's every move was shrouded in mystery, uncaring of the audience. Zhua Fan stared into Kuei Gang's eyes. You have trained in blood annihilation for half a year, right? Around 4 months. Zhua Fan's hard gaze left no room for non-compliance. He was baffled by his reply as well. Why did I answer this prodigal son? Zhua Fan nodded. Boy, Uncle here will give you a warning. Don't force it, or you will soon live to regret it. Kuei Gang shuddered. The words had mystical power compelling them to take heed. As if the dire consequence was bound to become reality if the warning was ignored, it goes the same for you. Remember this. Zhua Fan, eyed where you were, stared blankly. Yuling shouted and glared. Get lost, my baby sister is about to enter the competition. How can you say that? You don't have to help us set up the stage, so go to the cemetery behind the mountain. Guard it. I don't want to see you for a month. No matter who has your back, in here, you still have to answer to us. So go to the cemetery now. Kuei Lang glowered as well. Zhua Fan left without a word, but with a cold smile, but then his snide reply pierced their ears. Proceed at your own risk. Your death is on you. Yuling and Kuei Lang glared at his back, but their relatives pondered over his wise words. They felt Zhua Fan was hinting at something. It was his way of helping her. You know him, he likes messing around. So don't listen to him. Yuling urged. You must give your all for the promotion. Kuei Lang nodded, as well looking at the two's hopeful gaze. The kids felt at ease if they failed to be promoted. How could they ever repay their father and sister's efforts? Thus, Zhua Fan's warning was thrown out of the window. 3 days later, the outer sect promotion was in full swing, with everyone buzzing. Except the labor office, since it was the worst place in the sect, having no right to even see it. Yuling and Kuei Lang grew tense, waiting for the good news from their son and babysitter. No matter how sure they were that their kids could do it, they still wanted to know, relax, they will surely win. But what about Zhua Fan? When we let him come back? The thick atmosphere over there isn't good for prolonged stay. Elder Yuan consoled on one hand and pleaded Zhua Fan's case on the other. Yuling glared. I wish he'd rot in there, but I have no choice but to call him back in fear of the sex investigation. Elder Yuan sighed. Just then, a shout came from outside. Labor office's leaders, come out. You have a newcomer. Elder Yuan ran over, but then he shouted, Yuling, it's your sister. Yuling paled from fright and rushed over. She saw her baby sister soaked in blood and barely breathing. The man at her side stated, "Outer disciple Uera received heavy wounds in the promotion contest. Her meridians are broken. She is a reject now and is being transferred to the labor office." Chapter 534. Taking it out on Juefan. Chapter 534. Taking it out on Juefan. The man's voice felt like daggers sinking into Yuling, yet the man had no sympathy. Leaving as he came, cold and callous, Elder Yuan begged, "Executive sir, what happened? Doesn't failing the promotion mean being eliminated from the competition? Why has she been sent here?" The executive snorted. "It is true that losing doesn't warrant being sent here, but this girl's meridians are shot, and she can't stay in the outer sect anymore. Where else are we to throw our waste, if not here in this dump? Besides, don't you have that Azura circle? The least she could do is be a good material for the sect." "What did you say?" Yuling was outraged, exploding with power and charging at him. Her red eyes showed clearly that her mind was consumed by fury. Kuei Lang grabbed her and struggled. "Yuling, calm down. Do you want your soul pulverized?" Yuling's reason returned, and her heart cooled. The executive sneered. "You're all criminals. Even though stronger than me, you still have to stand and watch. Disrespect your betters, and see how the sect's rules will put you in your place." "Damn prodigal," Kuei Lang fumed, but hid his anger behind a straight face and a bow. They knew this executive well, a fellow disciple. Because of his dad being an elder, unable to advance to the inner sect, he lived in the outer sect and became executive. His talent was so poor that he would never go beyond the second layer of radiant stage. Kuei Lang and Yuling only had disdain for this wastrel, but even more fear. "Forgive me, executive sir. I was rash and forgot my manners. I only wish to understand how my baby sister ended up so hurt in the competition." I asked that executive would clarify. Yuling bowed and cupped her hands. The executive mocked. "Why, for revenge? Give up. A sinner like you has no right to touch anyone outside the labor office, or face the sect's ultimate punishment. But my sister is crushed and her life is ruined. For the other party to be so heavy-handed, they must have done it on purpose. How could I, twisted-faced Rakshasa, just let it go?" Yuling raged. Everyone around her felt a chill from the depths of her wrath. Kuei Lang was about to stop her, but sighed. The executive pondered but still refused. "It's not hard to find the identity of her opponent, but I warn you to let it go. Because what happened to your sister is all due to herself." "How can you say that?" Yuling was stunned. The executive said, "Everyone watching the competition saw your sister exhibit tremendous power with a demon-devouring saber, even scaring her opponent. But the savage energy ran out of control, and she received a backlash, resulting in her wretched state. So there's no need to feel hatred for the other. It lies with your sister's unskilled use of the art." What? How? Yuling couldn't believe her ears that Yuer had done it to herself, and slumped to the ground from shock. Now that she had no one to vent to for her baby sister's miserable state, she was left alone with rage and hatred festering inside at her dull gaze. The others shook their heads. Why didn't you tell me that you couldn't control this savage energy? I wouldn't have given you so many materials." Yuling bawled next to the prone Yuer. The others nodded. "Yeah, you should have said something, and these two big shots wouldn't have started an Azura circle, killing so many for your sake. So many died, and for what? For you to suffer a backlash. Damn brat. No sense of propriety and lacking morals. A shame for all those wasted materials." Reaching a shaky hand for Yuling's finger, Yuer's weary voice cut off the sobbing. "Sister, forgive me. I'll let you down. It doesn't matter now." "But how did you?" Yuling was heartbroken. Not knowing how to reprimand her, Yuer was also crestfallen. "Sister, I had control of the demon-devouring saber, but then my arm was hurt." "Hurt?" Yuling cried. "Where? How? Who did it?" Yuer's frail voice came. 2 months ago, I found Juefan's entry to the sect suspicious and attacked him. I hurt him and he hurt me, but my wound never recovered. Juefan, having the outlet she needed. Yuling roared. "You did this, and now I'll make you pay. You've ruined my baby sister, and I will cut you to ribbons." Kuei Lang exclaimed. Didn't he warn us just before the competition? He knew something and didn't let on. Or maybe he's behind it all, taking revenge on us. Yu Ling's eyes screamed bloody murder, utterly convinced that Zhuo Fan was to blame for Yuer's pitiful state. Oh no. Kuei Lang face-bombed. Since he did this to Yuer, that means my son shit. Kuei Lang rushed for the competition when a light flew at them whoosh. A gray robe appeared, throwing what he held on the ground and barking. Labor office, you have a newcomer. Ganger, the one dumped on the ground was his son and was just as wretched as you were. Bleeding all over, how could this happen? The previous executive watched, overstunned. The gray robe waved. Just what is going on today? That girl was the first, and this kid is the second. Both collapsed from backlash the minute they let out a big move. And he even took a battle pill. The backlash was so strong it exploded his vessels. As a cripple, it's the labor office's problem now. So that's why. The previous executive nodded, sighing at the two kids' unfortunate ending. Such unnecessary risk when there's always next year's promotion. Why force it? Why risk your life? Look at me. I've been in the outer sec for 9 years, yet still made out as an executive. Bullshit. That's all on your father. You did jack squat. All he got was rolled eyes. Zhuo Fan. Kuei Lang balled his fists and howled. You ruined my son, and I'll ruin you. The brat did it to Ganger too. Yu Ling frowned. Kuei Lang nodded. Yu Ling, did you forget? 3 days ago, he put his hand on my son's arm. I didn't find anything bad about it, but he must have done something for sure. That punk is our greatest enemy. Yu Ling raged. Kuei Lang, let's go rip his head and make bone meal out of him. Let's go. Kuei Lang shot to his feet and rushed for the cemetery with Yu Ling. Elder Yuan jumped in. Wait, sirs, before we know how this happened, we shouldn't make rash decisions. Buzz off. No one in the sect is a saint. Only enemies or allies. Shoving him aside, the two rushed on. Elder Yuan turned to the others. Executive sirs, stop them please, or things will get horrible. Zhuo Fan can't be touched. The executives shook their heads. What can we do? Those are the Black Yama and twisted-faced Rakshasa who fought their way into the inner sect. We're not their match. Rules put us above them. But with how lost and raged they are, we will be the ones to suffer instead. Besides, this is the labor office's problem. We have done our part. Goodbye. The two bolted away. Elder Yuan stomped and cursed. Damn wastrels. All of them are useless. They don't care, even when disciples are at each other's throats. Demon scheming sect will meet its end at their hands at some point. Elder Yuan had a pained expression. Chapter 535, Strongest Laborer. Chapter 535, Strongest Laborer. Demon scheming sect's cemetery housed the previous generations of sect leaders, venerables, and elders. The immense power they wielded in life became poison after death, filling the cemetery in a dark energy, and gave off a haunting feeling. The weak coming here would find this rotting their meridians, while longer exposure would lead to damage to their core, crippling them for that reason. The laborers assigned cleaning duty here would always come under a clear sky and in the afternoon, with the sun's yang protecting them from the cemeteries. Spending the night would be the last thing on their minds. With such a thick and darkness, once it got into their body, it was nigh impossible to remove it. Even a strong Yuan Qi didn't offer great protection. Everyone would suffer the same fate here, be that as it may. On that night, with the moon shining overhead, there was one black-robed person sitting in the center of the cemetery, unaffected by the eerie wind blowing by the black energy, curling thicker and thicker around him, sucked in the een. The instant it got too close, all this while an azure flame burned on his forehead, no one but Zhuo Fan would be caught cultivating here. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang dumped him here as a punishment, not as a death sentence. At least not before they did a background check with Zhuo Fan's profound heaven cultivation. This place wouldn't take his life, but would exhaust all his energy, making for a very good punishment. How would they know that Zhuo Fan was a freak everywhere he went? The een here was deadly to all but him. Another man's treasure, and all that with demon transformation art sucking up anything and everything. He'd be dumb to miss the chance of sucking generations upon generations of demon-scheming sects powerhouses in energy. So while this cultivation method worked on his body, the azure flame tended to his soul, and within 3 days, Zhuofan's cultivation was soaring. On the brink of a breakthrough, he was ecstatic. This place was a funeral for the rest, yet heaven for him. It was so good that he didn't feel like leaving even when the month turned whoosh. 2 sounds entered his ears. The azure flame was gone, and the black energy went back inside him as he sighed, annoyed. Those schmucks just can't see me happy. Huh? They have me sweeping this place, and have now sent a foreman to watch me? Now I can't even cultivate in peace. Zhuofan stood up, took his broom, and went to work on the leaves and pebbles on the floor. Pure pretense, of course. He didn't want to give the fools an excuse to annoy him further, since he got a foreman on me. Then watch closely. Russell. Zhuofan looked like an honest worker for a change. Sweeping the place, just then Kuei Lang and Yu Ling, bent on murder, sprung at him. Zhuofan asked with a frown. What's wrong with you? Can't you see I'm working here? Why are you looking at me like that? You have the nerve to ask that now? Are you that blind to even your own immoral actions? Yu Ling snarled. Kuei Lang shouted. Zhuofan, if you have anything against us, take it out on us. But don't be so twisted as to lay your hands on children, to ruin their lives. Zhuofan got the gist of what was going on inside. I see. So it happened. See Yu Ling. He knows everything. He must have done it. Kuei Lang was sure of it, now hearing his reply. Yu Ling could hardly contain her rage. Zhuofan's face hardened, having lost his jovial mood. I warned you not to force things, but did you listen? Now those juniors are crippled. You're full of it. You're trying to act like a saint when you are the one who hurt my sister. And now you'll preach from your moral high ground? I will have your head. Yu Ling struck, but Zhuofan casually blocked it. Zhuofan's voice was chilling to the bone. I have no grudge with you and want no conflict. But if you insist, then it'll be your funeral. Cheeky, aren't you? But what can a wastrel do with a 7th layer of profound heaven cultivation entering the sect thanks to his daddy against the likes of us? Don't you know the difference between radiant stage and profound heaven stage? We can kill you with a thought. Kuei Lang mocked. Zhuofan shook his head, his eyes a sucking abyss. More than you know. But I'm not your average cultivator and advise you against starting something you can't finish. You don't make the cut. Insolent little bastard. The 2 shouted. Yu Ling turned to Kuei Lang. He has a soul demonic treasure, so soul attacks won't work. That must be his crutch. Let's do it together and offer his head to Yuerer and Ganger. We'll just face it if those behind him come for revenge. But don't go too fast. Let's take his life at the same time, all right? I want revenge for my son. Right back at you. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang nodded and went on the offensive in their minds. Killing a profound heaven cultivator was nothing. The crux was who did it first. The 2 wanted to kill Zhuofan so badly that they agreed to do it at the same time, to quench their hatred, but Zhuofan just stood there, as if just waiting to take the punishment. He was in fact. That ripple had the 2 shudder on the inside. A radiant stage's soul attack. The 2 replied with their own soul attack spam. That clash had them falter back 5 steps. Gone was their contempt and rage, replaced by shock. Impossible. Zhuofan stood in his spot with a broom in hand, bearing a sneer. Now do you get it? You didn't affect me in the Azura Circle, not because of some soul demonic treasure, but by me having a stronger soul than both of you combined. The 2 squinted, finding it hard to believe that this was real. A profound heaven expert soul being stronger than 2 radiant stage experts? And he can even release it in attacks? That's clearly in the realm of radiant stage, so why? Leave, stop wasting my time. You're not my match. Zhuofan dissed them casually. The 2's faces changed, no longer seeing him as just a nobody, but one equal to them. Not that that would change anything with the likes of Zhuofan and his freaky strength. Yu Ling took a deep breath and turned to Kuei Lang. His soul is at peak radiant stage. Forget about him being in the profound heaven stage and treat him like a radiant stage expert. Let's go all out and kill him in one blow. All right, Kuei Lang agreed. Nobody would do this normally, but they were out for blood and wouldn't go back empty-handed, even if it meant going down with him. Pa. The two shot toward Zhuo Fan from left and right. They flitted across with great ease and reappeared in Zhuo Fan's face with palm attacks, profound ranked martial art. Moon palm. Crack. Dark blue ice covered Yu Ling's palm, making Zhuo Fan feel the coldness before it even reached him. Profound ranked martial art. Wind wolf rake. Kuei Lang shouted afterwards. With a beast howl, his claws sent thousands of wind blades. Wanting to make mincemeat out of Zhuo Fan, Yu Ling and Kuei Lang showed a cruel smile at what was about to happen, yet Zhuo Fan was nonplussed. Bored, he held the broom, and as his right arm flashed red, he swept whoosh. A tornado rose to the heavens, cutting away Kuei Lang's wind blades to nothing while the broom landed on his chest and sent him flying on his way down to earth. He left a trail of blood sweeping Kuei Lang away. Meant it was Yu Ling's turn. Her eyes formed and was about to strike when it got smashed to pieces by that swipe. While she was flicked away the same way, the huge force shot into her body and made her spurt blood. The two slammed the ground, too weak to even move, while Zhuo Fan held the broom at the same spot with a dull look. Like nothing had actually happened, but the two were shell-shocked at his might. He's in the profound heaven stage, yet is so powerful. It went on to show that a dragon was a dragon, even down on his dumps. Just a wave of a broom had these two bosses of the labor office flying. Chapter 536, Exposed. Chapter 536, Exposed. Zhuo Fan, are you our dash, Elder Yuan and a few laborers were shouting on their way here, but the scene they saw had their brains on the fritz. Zhuo Fan was the perfect embodiment of a laborer, with that broom on his shoulder and those plain clothes. But that cocky look left no room for discussions. Just like a god, while Yu Ling and Kuei Lang watched him, stunned and bleeding from the mouth. Collapsed on the ground in fear, it took just one strike to counter their all-out attacks and leave them with a heavy wound. Who the hell is he? Elder Yuan made his way there and was watching the play with bugged-out eyes. What happened here? Why isn't he dead yet, and the others are on the ground instead? Zhuo Fan glanced over. Elder Yuan, what are you doing here? I wanted to urge them not to do this. Buy time for someone to call the four venerables to help you. But there's no point now. Elder Yuan was puzzled. Zhuo Fan nodded. Ha ha ha. Thank you, Elder Yuan, for your concern, but there's no need for that. They don't have what it takes to hurt me. Take them away. I will be staying for a while longer. We'll debate on the topic of demons and Tao at the first chance I get. Oh. Elder Yuan nodded absent-mindedly. Not knowing the situation did not mean not understanding the outcome. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling had no way of taking Zhuo Fan's life, and knowing that, he rested easier. So he called the other disciples to pick up the two and left the laborers click their tongues, seeing their two big shots so wretched and unable to even move. That's why Elder Yuan keeps saying Zhuo Fan is special. Today proves it. His hidden bodyguard is so tough to deal with these two so quickly. It only worked to assert his status as a wastrel, since not even the sect leader messed with him. Having bodyguard was just a perk of the job. Never in their wildest dreams would they conceive it possible for Zhuo Fan to be the one behind Kuei Lang in Yu Ling states. He was just a profound heaven cultivator. That meant his old man subject had to have done it, yet only the two victims knew the reality. That this creature had the godlike power to crush all the sect disciples. Never had they met such a freak in their lives. Yet they had the worst luck ever to make an enemy of the only one they shouldn't on their first meeting too. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang looked each other in the eye, reflecting the endless remorse inside. They were ready to die together for their baby sister and son, but their target of revenge was beyond their comprehension. The two were depressed, wanting to rave at the injustice, but couldn't budge an inch. Zhuo Fan showed them just how puny and weak they were. Zhuo Fan, you may be stronger, but I will never forget this hatred. One day I will have you answer for what you did to Yuer. She roared at the heavens. The hateful proclamation had the disciples carrying her shudder in fear, almost dropping her and making a run for it. Kuei Lang glared at Zhuo Fan with fury. Just because they were weaker didn't mean they'd just drop it, sighing. Zhuo Fan mocked. Get this through your thick skulls. I am no saint, but at least I'm open about it. Me, you and those kids have no bad blood to warrant using dirty tricks. Most of all, I only need to squash you to kill you. Why waste so much time with an over-elaborate plan? Is there anyone else but you? Didn't you warn them of this outcome? You couldn't have known the result unless you planned it yourself. Kuei Lang half believed Zhuo Fan at this point, since he made damn good sense. With a strong arm, why waste time? No hidden assaults, no smoke and mirrors, just a simple strike, and they'd be dead. Zhuo Fan's strength was his greatest proof of innocence, but Zhuo Fan must have known the real situation, and Kuei Lang wanted to find out the truth. I can't just get beaten for nothing without even finding out about my son's culprit. Zhuo Fan smiled, having him all figured out. Ask Hu Meier for that. Hasn't she always helped the two scamps? What? The two found it hard to believe. Their trust in Hu Meier had never faltered, and they never would have come to this conclusion by themselves. You're throwing blame. Meier couldn't have done this. What proof do you have? No matter how much Kuei Lang was against it, he still asked Zhuo Fan for proof. Yet Zhuo Fan turned his back on him. Not my problem. Figure out yourselves. But the next time you come at me, you better be damn sure or my subordinates will end you where you stand. Zhuo Fan flew away, back to the cemetery, leaving the two lost sheep behind. Kuei Lang. Do you believe him? Yu Ling faltered. Zhuo Fan's accusation would mean their dear Hu Meier was out to get them all along. Nobody could just accept it since in a demonic sect. A friend was a rarity, and to find that same friend had now turned into an enemy would be a crushing blow. Kuei Lang furrowed his brows and closed his eyes. I don't know. But he is right about one thing. He doesn't need petty tricks to handle us. That means he might just be right. Yu Ling was shaken to the core, her mind replaying everything that had happened in the sect, and she paled. I should have known there's no one in the demon-scheming sect worthy of trust. Kuei Lang's silence echoed her thoughts. Elder Yuan ran before them, providing them with a pill. Thank God you're all right. These are mere third-grade pills, but should be enough help to get you moving again. Old Yuan, I never knew that you were so nice. Kuei Lang smiled. You could have spurred Zhuo Fan to kill us, and have the labor office all to yourself. I'm just a bone-tempering old bag of bones. Besides, we all meet our end at some point. It's up to fate. Life and death is part of the natural order, the cycle of every living thing. Many disciples treat Azure Circle as their fate as materials, but their death gives life to others. It's survival of the fittest. However cruel, it has a purpose. It would be too much of a pity for you two to die now. Oh, old Yuan, no matter how much sense that makes, I just can't figure out what you're saying, just like Zhuo Fan. Can't you be simpler? Kuei Lang squinted his dull eyes. Elder Yuan waved him off. Sir Kuei Lang, just tend to your wounds. I was only grumbling about finding time to talk it out with Zhuo Fan. All right, I can't see why Zhuo Fan would get so close to a bone-tempering old man with his strength. It must be these incomprehensible topics, having found someone to talk to. Kuei Lang nodded. Elder Yuan smiled. Yeah, we both wish to understand the nature of this world. Elder Yuan had a disciple take them back to labor office, but by then they could move. Zhuo Fan had obviously gone easy on them. They were going to see where, and Kuei gang in the room Elder Yuan had arranged for them, when a very familiar person approached the two, eyed her with suspicion. Junior, Sister Meier. Kuei Lang spoke openly. She was caressing Yuer's head and turned to them. Senior brother Kuei Lang, junior sister Yu Ling. What happened? Yuer and Ganger are so hurt, yet you went out for a walk. What fortune that I was here to keep them company. Hi. Hu Meier's bright giggle sounded like cawing to their ears. It opened them up to how devious she was. Zhuo Fan was right. She led them by the nose. All along, they didn't need proof to see it. What friend out there would be gloating over their misfortune? Hu Meier. Yu Ling roared inside, and her eyes burned with the flames of revenge. Chapter 537, Course of Events. Chapter 537, Course of Events. Hu Meier. They suffered backlash in the competition. Did you do this? Yu Ling squinted at her, sneering. Hu Meier declared. How can you say that? Junior sister, I have done everything I could to get these poor children to pass the outer sect promotion. With them training themselves into such a state, aren't you afraid I will become colder if you pin the blame on me. Yu Ling had no proof, and words left her even as she tried to cuss Kuei Lang, eyed Hu Meier coldly. Enough of your pretense. We don't know how you did it, but we are clear that you're the culprit behind it. You should be frank right about now and not play pretend. Hi. Senior brother Kuei Lang is as blunt as always, so I shall oblige. Yes, I plan everything. She grinned, and not just this, but everything since the beginning. The two spoke at the same time. Everything. Why? Did you forget already how you got thrown into the labor office? Blinking her pretty big eyes, Hu Meier mocked. Hi. You sure have a nice life here to ignore the outside world. Speak clearly. Kuei Lang almost burst from the anger. Yu Ling stared daggers at her. Hu Meier jeered. When big brother Kuei Lang had an affair outside the sect, resulting in a son, I reported it to the elders. That's what got you booted into the labor office. As for Ganger, he only escaped execution because of your master being a venerable with plenty of pull. Kudos. Hi. It was you. Kuei Lang balled his fists, his thirst for blood, rising. Hu Meier snickered, turning to her next victim. Junior sister. Do you remember that 5th grade pill? I was kind enough to give you the tip about it, so you could steal it and improve Yuer's constitution. And you lived up to my expectations by going with it. I just had to report you. It was you. Yu Ling shuddered with bloodthirst. Our pains these past decades were all because of you. Why? What did we do to you? I brought you into the sect myself, so why are you so cruel? Kuei Lang was fighting against the rage, his voice shaky. Hu Meier sneered. Of course I had motive, ample in fact. I wouldn't just go about stabbing my friends in the back over nothing. Hu Meier's icy eyes landed on Kuei Lang. Big brother Kuei Lang, I've always respected you since you brought me here, but you shouldn't have pulled your pants and denied me that night. Even daring to call it the sex rule, allowing dual cultivation but forbidding love. You think I'll freaking believe that crap after you went fooling around and even had a child? Try calling that dual cultivation. Ugh. Kuei Lang felt awkward under her stare and sighed. Just over this trifle. Shut it, of course that's not all. Hu Meier turned to Yu Ling with a creepy smile. What mattered the most was the elite disciples quota. Senior brother Kuei Lang and junior sister Yu Ling were both prominent intersect disciples and wouldn't refuse going higher, and with the positions being so limited. Shit, that's your real motive, you viper. Kuei Lang's earlier guilt got squashed by anger the instant he heard her. This wretched Hu Meier didn't do it for revenge, but for selfish gains. Curses, being a player will only get you killed. I thought I got what I deserved for being frivolous. Damn, I felt ashamed for nothing. Yuer glared at Hu Meier. I get that you schemed against us for the elite spots, but why go after Yuer? They're just children. With the elite selection about to start, them just entering the intersect will be of no threat to you. Weeds need to be culled from the roots, lest they grow unchecked. Hu Meier snickered. As your kin, once the brats found out about my involvement in your punishments, they'll hate me to the bone. So rather than wait for them to come for me, I did a preemptive strike, crippling them. A shame that the sect's rules protect disciples with potential. An inner disciple can't touch the outer ones, unless the latter initiates it. What other choice was there besides plotting their demise at their own hands? I overheard that the sect leader brought in a new disciple, so I got the girl to test him. Getting him to kill her wasn't such a bad outcome, but that Zhuo Fan is such a loser, getting hurt instead and ending up in the labor office. Humph had no choice but to resort to schemes. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were sweating buckets. If Zhuo Fan was a loser, then the entire demon scheming sect was hopeless. But since Hu Meier was in the dark about Zhuo Fan's might, they kept it that way. But Hu Meier's vile schemes against these two couldn't be left alone. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang nodded and went for an attack as 3rd and 4th layer of Radiant Stage experts. Even when wounded, they were a force to reckon with. Both of them were enough to make the 3rd layer of Radiant Stage. Hu Meier gasped in fear. Hu Meier, we'll kill you even if it's the last thing we do. The two cried. Hu Meier faltered 5 steps of the sheer killing intent. Using all her Yuan Qi to defend, the following explosion did not happen between them, but on the labor office's wall as a blue figure shot in front of Umayyar and forced the two to retreat with his palm attacked Kuei Lang, and Yu Ling withdrew 10 steps while the other person only 3. The two cried out on seeing the newcomer, second senior brother Lu Su. Ha ha ha, juniors are so strong even after so many years in the labor office. Not even with the 5th layer of radiant stage cultivation can I hold you back. Lu Su cupped his hands. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were filled with bloodthirst. Lu Su, you're to blame as well. Kuei Lang roared. Lu Su smiled. Juniors, how can you say that? I don't understand a word you're saying. But if you want to harm junior sister Mayor, you'll have to go through me first. Lu Su took Mayor's hand and flew away. Junior sister Mayor, come. Let's not waste time on them. Not if I can help it. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were in pursuit, but the sudden arrival of 4 trails of smoke had them surrounded as they gave off the typical creepy jeer with the rattling of chains. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling found themselves tied up, waiting for the smoke to clear and reveal the 4 scheming demons. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling found themselves unable to break out of the black chain. Hi. You shall never escape the demonic cultivator hero quartet. The heroic 4, the 4 scheming demons. Sly Demon, cackled Violent Demon, was mighty proud. Speaking in a savage tone, I just got word that someone in the labor office is itching to die by touching our steward Jua. Roaming around, we found you two to fit the bill. Talk, were you going after steward Jua? Steward Jua? Who's that? We don't have any steward here. Kuei Lang asked, puzzled. And who are you for? What are you doing in the labor office? The 4 scheming demons had just returned to the sect, and many didn't know them, but on hearing his words, the 4 scheming demons turned cold, and their ill will at them only grew. For God's sake, our names are glorious. The entire sect echoing the demonic cultivator hero quartet. Yet you dare say you don't know us? Just for that, you deserve the most excruciating death. Violent Demon grinned, showing his pearly whites. Chapter 538, The Last Hope. Chapter 538, The Last Hope. Brothers, let's tear these ignorant fools in 4. Violent Demon squeaked, pulling the chain, and the 2 could move. Violent Demon's claws clutched Kuei Lang's neck before he could flee. Holding him up in the air, his brothers each grabbed a limb as they snickered. The 4's eerie laughter echoed around as Kuei Lang felt himself getting pulled in 4 directions, and howled. Yu Ling panicked. The 4 pygmies' dreadful aura was keeping her away, and she was unable to help. Yu Ling paled, hearing their cawing that filled her with fear. Who are they? I get that they're strong, but why come for us? What rotten luck they had. First was the misunderstanding with Zhuo Fan, almost getting plastered to the ground with his godlike power, then finding out their good friend had been toying with them for years, and just as they were about to exact revenge, these 4 crazy pygmies showed up, making them unable to do anything against them. Yu Ling was wrought with sorrow, remorse, and shock. On the verge of crying, Kuei Lang howled with pain, his face red and soaked as his limbs inched further away from their sockets. The 4 scheming demons cackled, all this while messing around like it was some rough housing. The usual then. 1, 2, 3, pull. Stop! Kuei Lang's limbs were at their limit when Elder Yuan came over shouting and begging. Executive Sirs, please let him go. He did not know of Sir's status and offended you. Please show remorse. Violent Demon snorted. That doesn't matter, but they also dared to not know our illustrious title. Brothers, pull. Wait. Elder Yuan waved his arms all over the place. You can't kill them because they're steward Jua's friends. What? The pygmies stopped at once, and so did Kuei Lang's wails. Looking at Kuei Lang, who they were just tearing into, the 4 broke out in sweat. Then they let him go, placed him on the ground, and started rubbing his shoulders. Violent Demon even shed his usual violent face for a more amiable smile. Hey, an honest mistake here, friend of Steward Jua. Don't mind it now, and never ever tell Steward Jua about it. You don't want us to suffer, do you? Violent Demon spoke in the most cringy and heartfelt tone, and his brothers echoed him. This scene left the rest dumbstruck. The hell is wrong with these weirdos? They were just tearing me off a second ago, and now they are so respectful? Elder Yuan was taken aback as well. He had thrown Zhua Fan's name in for scare tactics, but it had worked a bit too well. The instant the four heard his name, they became meek as lambs. Just what strength must he have to get these four shits to fall in line? Elder Yuan's eyes glinted. Oh wait, with Steward Zhua's temper, he doesn't make friends easily. When we met, he skipped the small talk and went tough on us right off the bat. Either obey or die, what friends? Sly Demon asked. His brothers frowned and asked, Are you really Steward Zhua's friends? Kuei Lang and Yu Ling bobbed their heads. Though clueless as to who this Steward Zhua was, not admitting would be relinquishing their lives. These freaks were outrageous in strength and character. More like lunatics. Violent Demon frowned and pondered. Being around Zhua Fan for so long, this bonehead had learned to use his noodles somewhat. Old Yuan, you had someone tell us that Steward Zhua is in trouble, so we came and only saw these two Radiant Stage disciples. So we took them as being ignorant for offending his grace. But since they're Steward Zhua's pals, then who are the culprits after Steward Zhua? The Violent Demon questioned Elder Yuan. Elder Yuan gasped. Crap, when did these shits learn to think? They become new men ever since they've returned. But this only makes Zhua Fan, the one to change them, even more invaluable. Elder Yuan praised him on the inside while smiling. Executives, the ones after Steward Zhua, just flew away. These two were chasing after them, but you stopped them. Didn't you see? The four recalled the earlier scene and did see two people flying away. But since they were too far, they stopped the two giving chase. We stopped the friendlies. The four blushed, scratching their heads with a silly smile. Sorry, didn't know we're on the same side looking out for Steward Zhua. Please don't tell him. Violent Demon pleaded while Sly Demon said in doubt. But who are those two to come find trouble for Steward Zhua? We must take them out at once. The other three nodded. Yu Ling's eyes brightened, and Kuei Lang caught on her idea. These four were deranged and unknown, but they were tough and gullible. Why not use them to get rid of Mayor and Lu Su? Elder Yuan jumped in before it got out of hand. Seeing their intentions, executives, they are inner disciples, but you can't touch them because of the sect rules. And if Steward Zhua wanted their lives, how could they have escaped? It's better to not interfere and mess with Steward Zhua's plans. The four lit up and nodded. Old Yuan. Kuei Lang glared at him, then sighed. Elder Yuan had just saved their lives and now ruined their chances at revenge. Yu Ling looked at him puzzled. Elder Yuan said simply, Executive Sir's methods are cruel, but those are born out of circumstances while they are but simple and honest men. Having just been pardoned, they've returned to the sect, loyal and brave, but also strong. They won't involve themselves in the sect's politics and die because of it. But now that I've said that, your revenge won't work, so you better look after those juniors instead. Old Yuan, that much I understand. Ganger, Kuei Lang made big eyes when he wanted to fight Mayor to the death. He forgot all about his son on his deathbed. He had to use this life to care for his son. Kuei Lang rushed back to the room. Yu Ling gave a look of gratitude to Elder Yuan and followed him. The four scheming demons followed as well. Intrigued while Elder Yuan just watched them with a chuckle returning to the ruined cabin. Kuei Lang saw his son on his last breath and unconscious. His heart was in pain, and tears fell. Yuer caressed her sister's waned face. Her eyes closed in pain. Oh, they look positively dying. Sly Demon quipped, then Wimp Demon followed with, Didn't they take their pills? Should we give them? Thank you, executives, but their meridians are crushed, and not even a 7th grade pill can. Kuei Lang choked with emotions. Yu Ling wiped her tears in silence, but the four scheming demons were indifferent. Violent Demon had an odd look. What's the use of crying? It's only some broken meridians. Nothing Steward Zhua can't heal. Aren't you friends? Steward Zhua is very generous with his pals. Steward Zhua. The two stopped their sobbing, and hope lit up in their eyes. No matter who this Steward Zhua was, he was their last hope. Chapter 539, Pleading. Chapter 539, Pleading. Can Steward Zhua really save them? Kuei Lang hesitated. Yu Ling stared at the four with the same pleading look. The four laughed, with Violent Demon sticking out his chest, declaring, Clearly you haven't been around Steward Zhua for long, or you'd know. Let us tell you, having worked with him for years, nothing's impossible for him. Yep. Oldie got crippled too after his fight to the death, but with Steward's whammy, he was up on his feet in no time. He even entered the ethereal stage. Wimp Demon bobbed his head. Scrooge Demon frowned, shaking his head. I heard that in Tianyu's last war, those old coots got plenty of rewards for their efforts. Unlike us, who got called back to the sect and missed out on the fun. Even the power couple have become ethereal. What rotten luck. Why we always miss out on the good stuff. The four lamented their wretched fate. Kuei Lang was still skeptical at all this grandstanding, but one thing was for sure. Stewardjua was amazing. The future of these children was in his hands. But where is Stewardjua now? Kuei Lang bowed in front of the four. The four scheming demons found it fishy, questioning back. Aren't you his friends? How do you not know where he is? Panicking, the two were tongue-tied, admitting they had no clue about any steward was something that would have these madmen go back to tearing them apart under the four's glares. The two sighed. We'd rather die than say it. An awkward mood set in, with Kuei Lang and Yuling bumbling and the four scheming demons eyeing them skeptically. An aged laughter broke the tension. Executives, Zhuofan is not a steward here, so they don't know about his previous status. The four scheming demons nodded, appeased with that answer, while Kuei Lang and Yuling were overwhelmed. The great steward these have been raving about is Zhuofan. They turned their shocked looks at Elder Yuan. Elder Yuan chuckled. Now you know. The only hope for these brats is Zhuofan. It's a shame that you've offended him, and it's hard to tell if he'll even listen to your pleas. You offended Steward Zhua. Violent demons saw their tense faces and kicked them all down. Ha! You're screwed. Steward Zhua's temper is the worst, petty about everything. Messing with him will ruin you even if you're friends. You're better off burying these kids than to waste your breath. His brothers cackled along, dancing in joy. Like their biggest wish was to see others suffer. Kuei Lang and Yuling felt worse, as the four kept jeering they had brought it on themselves by always looking to poke Zhuofan. They were the farthest thing from friends. Why would he ever help them? The two sighed in regret for not treating him better then. Yuling perked up and said, Oh, Elder Yuan, weren't you and Zhuofan always on good terms? Please plead our case and ask this god for help. We are powerless. Kuei Lang looked at Elder Yuan with a hopeful gaze, and so it came to be that this in-name leader of the labor office became the target of these two bosses' ass-kissing. You two are usually so high and mighty, not caring about anyone else. Now, at the last minute you've come to little old me. Zhuofan might have entered the lowest rung, but he has 4 loyal servants. You should have thought it through from the start. Elder Yuan berated them, and the two took it like it was natural, bobbing their heads. We'll take your lesson to heart, Elder Yuan. We will change our ways. They had an odd feeling all of a sudden. Flattering this obscure old man made him look tall and imposing, making them submit to his words. Then I shall help you. His answer will depend solely on your attitude. Elder Yuan waved. Kuei Lang and Yuling were gratified, forgetting the fact that they were bosses of the labor office, and so the two of them and Elder Yuan went back to the cemetery again, while the 4 scheming demons ended up babysitting the bedridden children at the ingenious words of Elder Yuan. Why? Because he dangled Zhuofan over their heads. An hour later, the trio entered the creepy cemetery and saw Zhuofan on a rock covered in black energy. Zhuofan drew it back with a sneer. Not even a day has passed, and you're already back. What? You're already healed and are itching for a fight. But this time it will have a different ending. Kuei Lang and Yuling reddened, falling to their knees and slamming their heads on the pavement. Forgive our excessive ignorance all this time. We beg Steward Zhua to let go of the past and save the children's lives. No. Zhuofan's curt reply came, and he swished his head away. The two were bitter, casting their desperate eyes on their last hope. Elder Yuan caught on to their obvious begging and said, Sir Zhua, the children's lives are at risk, their future about to cut short. Why wouldn't you save them? Not my problem. Zhuofan's stance was like a rock. Elder Yuan showed a wide smile. Well, sir, do it for me. Elder Yuan is a friend expanding on the world's nature. But no matter what, That is a mere debate, not a favor. I will still have to refuse. Zhua Fan's eyes held no pity. Kuei Lang and Yuling panicked. Elder Yuan muttered. Then, Sir Zhua, would you save me if it was me on the deathbed instead? Without Elder Yuan, I would have no one to talk to about Dao. Zhua Fan blurted. Elder Yuan nodded. Then may I exchange my life for one of the children? Exchange? Zhua Fan turned around. Elder Yuan, how is it equal? It's not. Elder Yuan took on the look of a sage. Heaven treats everyone with equal cruelty. For the strong, life is but a statistic. As long as this number is stable, life thrives. I will die for their life, or they will live for my death. No one will care when it's the same result. Demons are the source of all evil. They represent destruction of everything we know. But from the ashes, new life emerges. Demons have their own path. All the death they spread brings life. It is all in accordance to the natural way. Now, I give my old bones for the young one's future. Zhua Fan stared hard and muttered. The demonic path represents destruction and bears life. This cruel world that the demons are ruining, they are in fact nurturing life, carrying all the sins and turning demonic. Zhua Fan smiled. Death for life and destruction for the world's sake. Elder Yuan, you have helped me, so I shall help. You don't have to give your own life. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were overjoyed. Elder Yuan laughed. Sir Zhua, will you help one or both? After saving one, I reckon Elder Yuan will want to give his life for the other. So I'll just save them both. Zhua Fan grinned. The two were exuberant, their smiles growing all the way to the ears. Elder Yuan laughed and nodded. He's so smart, able to understand it on the spot. Meanwhile, Lu Su stood on a precipice, watching white-bearded elders fly by. With a sour mood, Humayer came over annoyed. Curses, the elders are finally on patrol, and all we needed was for those two to waltz in, and we would have finished them. Attacking an inner disciple is a death sentence. But those rotten lunatics butted in. What a waste. Their punishment is about to end, and if we are too late, they will make a comeback. It will be a threat to us and to securing the elite spots. Lu Su squinted. Humayer nodded, her eyes glinting with cruelty. Second senior brother, we haven't even looked into Zhua Fan's background. I wonder which elder or venerable's ward is he. Maybe test the waters by framing him. Lu Su cut her off with a devious grin. Chapter 540. Making a Move. Chapter 540. Making a Move. This way, Steward Zhua, Kuei Lang acted as the guide, devoid of his bossy air and more like a fawning servant. Who was the target? Zhua Fan and Elder Yuan the laborers were all bug-eyed, hardly believing their own eyes. Since when did Kuei Lang fall in line? And look at Yuling, so reserved. Did wastrel Zhua Fan's bodyguards smack some sense and fear into them? The rumor mill was running non-stop, but Kuei Lang and Yuling never gave a damn, their humble smiles not even twitching with Zhua Fan being their last hope. They had to measure their words before opening their mouths. As for things like honor and dignity, how was that any better than saving the lives of their kin? Besides, Zhua Fan's strong arm had them completely defeated. They were even content to be under such an almighty boss. Their procession arrived at the cabin, and Zhua Fan noticed the glaring hole in the wall with a raised eyebrow. I've been gone for just a few days, yet the place is already falling apart. Quite nice of you, Kuei Lang and Yuling, having your better-than-sister and son taken to this dump, while leaving the intact homes for the others. Steward Zhua, this is just ha-ha-ha, causing trouble. Kuei Lang shook his head at the reminder. Zhua Fan frowned and thought the gang went in and were welcomed by ceaseless cawing, grating their ears. Zhua Fan could hear those four shits voices from a mile away. Bro, I bet he wakes up in a month, and the gallon half more than that. Sly Demon, declared Wimp Demon, shook his head. No, it's the other way around. Look at their wounds. There's no way they'll wake anytime soon. Let's bet on it over a 5th grade pill. Old Third said it would be in a month, and Old Fourth said after a month. Old Second, what do you say? Violent Demon looked at Scrooge Demon, holding the bets. Scrooge Demon grumbled, Can I not join? I don't want to lose. Don't bet. and everything you own will be mine." Violent Demon was irate. Scrooge Demon whined some more, and then took out a vial. "This is my share from the alchemy office this month, a third-grade pill." "Here, old third." "Third grade? You've got some nerve taking that out. The blind is fifth grade, so cough it up." "Don't make me search you." Violent Demon howled. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling's mood hit rock bottom. Their faces twitching. These mother-fluffing bastards are betting on the lives of our kin. They'd have attacked by now. A shame they were so weak. Ahe him. Zhua Fan drew the four's attention. "For scheming demons, had enough fun." The four shivered and cried out in unison with cupped hands, "Steward Zhua." With utmost respect and reverence, Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were stunned. These strong and unruly four simply got down on their knees. Not caring for their dignity, it only worked to make their respect for Zhua Fan grow. "No wonder Elder Yuan said we're bossy. Zhua Fan is far better than us." "Steward Zhua, you've come to save him?" Violent Demon grinned. "Sir will have to work for it based on their sorry states." Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were tense. Zhua Fan smiled. "I anticipated this outcome and came knowing I can save them." Zhua Fan went to Yuera first. He checked her pulse and scanned her with Yuan Qi before saying, "Yuera's training in demon-devouring saber was without any issues until 2 months ago. After hurting her arm, she still trained hard, leading to her collapse and meridians being broken. The instant I saw her unhealed hand, I knew someone was messing around. Not only were the healing pills tampered with, but even pushing her to train while wounded all the way to the outer sect promotion, where the savage energy in her lashed out. The instant I saw Humayer supervising her training and using sisterhood as a guilt trip, I thought of giving you a reminder, but you never listened." Yu Ling blushed with shame. She was filled with regret for not heeding Zhua Fan's advice. Then again, Zhua Fan always spoke stuff they barely understood. Not that she could complain when the guy was there saving her baby sister. Zhua Fan turned to Kuei Gang. "He trains in the blood annihilation, similar to a cultivation method I use, Wraithard. It has strict requirements when it comes to the user's body strength. In short, one be beginner in 3 to 5 years and proficient in 8 to 10 years of training." Yet when I asked him how many years he had trained, he said it was only half a year. I knew then and there this day would come. And when I touched his arm, it was only to check his situation. His blood vessels are damaged, and he even went beyond his body's limit by using a pill. That's being suicidal. It was Umayer's scheme that lured him to such an outcome. But I did warn you. Sigh. Kuei Lang lowered his head in shame and remorse. He just had to listen to Zhua Fan, and this would never have happened while Zhua Fan was showing off, taking the two snobs down a peg. A casual voice came, "Oh, Steward Zhua, you knew everything, so why didn't you say anything?" Wimp Demon had a straight face as he ignorantly exposed Zhua Fan's machinations. A friend in need is a friend indeed. All right? How would they worship me as a savior if I told them everything? Zhua Fan blathered at Wimp Demon. So what if I didn't? Ugh. Everyone sported dark faces and shook their heads. Steward Zhua is so wild. Not like they knew his mind. Zhua Fan had thought long and hard whether to save the two ages ago. Xiaohua wanted him to gain a huge merit. So he wanted to have Kuei Lang and Yu Ling under him, and the best way to go about it was guilt-tripping, thus merely exposing the ploy would be nothing compared to the gratitude of saving someone. But then he realized his life was great in the labor office, even having someone to chat with about Dao, and he simply put the merit business behind him. But it always paid to have another way out, just in case people always make it, so they have more than one choice, which brought him to the time he dropped that vague warning to Kuei Lang, and Yu Ling knowing fully well they'd ignore it, but gave him leverage to use when he'd throw in the real helping hand telling them, "See that, you morons? The only way to go places is by working under me. With your dumb minds, all you're good for is following orders." But from the moment he saw the cemetery, his cultivation heaven, he wanted nothing else but to sit there, even ignoring his own saving grace plan. Then Elder Yuan came to enlighten him on the nature of the world, and he decided his next step, as Elder Yuan was his best bud, he had to return the favor. While he also wanted to put the demonic path's true meaning to the test, to see if all the destruction birthed life. So he came, for his little scheme, and further understanding of the demonic way. There is no life without death. A demon nurturing life. How amusing. Zhua Fan smiled as he checked the kid's pulse. Steward Zhua, what pill will you use? Violent Demon asked curiously, and with admiration Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were tense. Zhua Fan merely smiled at their worries. You'll see after we get them to wake up. With a roar, an azure dragon soared from Zhua Fan's body. The thrumming vitality made everyone's yuan qi surge. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling's wounded state recovered in an instant, to their shock. What just happened? Only Elder Yuan cried out at its appearance. Dragon Vein Soul. Returning Dragon's Roar. Zhua Fan's eyes flashed. Chapter 541. Reborn. Chapter 541. Reborn. Roar. The dragon roar echoed inside the cabin as the azure dragon circled once above Zhua Fan's head before shooting for the patients. It followed Zhua Fan's arm and entered Yuer shone azure and burst with vitality, soothing her broken body and under the shocked eyes of the audience. The flesh mended in an instant. She was as good as new. The shock on Kuei Lang and Yu Ling was understandable. They wrote Zhua Fan off as a god on this earth. That's why those sixth layer of Radiant Stage experts are so willing to serve him. Zhua Fan is a god capable of reviving the dead. Ignoring the flabbergasted looks he always got, Zhua Fan finished with Yuer and directed the dragon soul towards Kuei Gang, following the same process. The kid was back in prime shape in no time. Kuei Gang was filled with lashes from his veins bursting. Yet now he didn't even have a scar on him. Zhua Fan had the dragon soul return back to his body, leaving behind two bodies like newborn babes. With smooth and perfect skin, Kuei Lang and Yu Ling gulped at the children's peaceful, sleepy faces. They had endless admiration for Zhua Fan, but now that they're healed, why weren't they waking up? Then, Yuer slowly opened her eyes, and Yu Ling cheered. Yuer, all right. Sister, Yuer was filled with doubt. Why am I? Yuer moved, but then found something wrong with her hand. Someone was holding it. She saw Zhua Fan's lewd look and creepy smile. That was what she saw at least, What you doing, sicko? Yuer pulled her hand away and slapped him paw. A sharp sound accompanied the stinging on Zhua Fan's cheek, and his mood sank. For crying out loud. What have I been doing? I saved this girl's life, and this is how you repay me? Yu Ling was scared witless. Steward Zhua, please calm down. She's still out of it. Please don't mind it. Yu Ling berated her sister. Damn girl. Steward Zhua just saved your life, and yet you've hit him? Apologize. Yuer looked puzzled from her sister to the glum Zhua Fan. Her brain turned to mush. What's going on? Why is sister, who has always hated Zhua Fan, sticking up for him? And she's even fawning over him. She knew her sister to be tough and hard-headed, not lowering her head in front of some wastrel. Yuer was vexed over her sister's attitude and made Yu Ling stomp her foot. Is this girl blind? Can't she see the hints I'm giving? He was holding her hand to save you, but now he can also end you. And there's no way I can save you from that. Seeing Zhua Fan's throbbing cheek and heavy look, Yu Ling became jumpy. What's all this ruckus? Kuei Gang woke up groggy only to see his father move, and he felt his hand in Zhua Fan's hand. What's this punk doing here? Didn't father hate him? Kuei Lang feared that he'd copy Yuer and rushed over to push him back down. Damn brat, Uncle Zhua here, just save your life, so hurry up and kowtow. Everyone's faces twitched as they were lost for words when Kuei Gang had been seeing Zhua Fan as a senior uncle. Kuei Lang only had mockery and derision. But how time flies, now sucking up to the guy in any way possible, so even this tough guy has an immoral side. That was how a puzzled Kuei Gang found himself sitting on the bed and his dad pushing his head down again and again, so hard it could snap his waist. Though one thing was certain, for his dad's attitude to do a 180 flip, he knew something was going on, and as he was a good boy, he cupped his hands in gratitude. Thank you, uncle, for saving me. That's more like it. Zhua Fan glared at Yuer, who simply turned her head away. Yu Ling's side. Yuer was stubborn as a mule, and that wouldn't change until someone explained it to her. Yu Ling shook her head as she told the kids, circumstances of their situation, a truly cruel irony, how the ever-helpful, who may turn out to be the viper plotting in the dark. while the ever-loathed Juefan saved their lives in their final hour. At long last, the two kids' eyes shone with gratitude. Yor even felt guilty seeing his red cheek. Forgive me, Yuera mumbled, still playing tough. Yuling sighed. Girl, you call that sincere? She knew, though, that those 3 words were already Yuera's limit. No matter how much she knew herself to be wrong, she'd never admit it. The fact that she spoke those words was remorseful enough. Well, he did save their asses, yet what did he get in return? A slap. Anyone would be sour about it. To say nothing of Juefan mocked. Ha ha ha. I wouldn't have accepted Miss Yuer's apology. Not with her stubborn streak. But for saving Miss Yuer, I had to encroach on her dignity, feeling her soft skin. A slap is what I deserve. Now we are even. Or perhaps Miss will still hold a grudge. A lady's hand is invaluable. Juefan finished with a snicker. Yuer's guilt ramped up. Her heart was a mess. Her eyes read. Yuling worked so hard to make peace with this godlike being, only to fall out again. At least Yuer was out of the woods and could just return to the peaceful days as an outer disciple. Not if Juefan could help it. Juefan snickered and threw Kuei Lang a vial. He then said, "Open it and see what it is." Kuei Lang did so, and his eyes bugged out. Everyone else gasped, so shocked their hearts were about to jump out of their chest cavity. 10th grade pill. They all exclaimed at the thick spiritual energy coming from it. Grinning, Juefan said, "The heaven-reaching pill, to be precise." The wounds on these kids were so heavy that their meridians were shot as well. While I did heal them, and their cultivation has been saved, advancing in this state is another matter. But with the heaven-reaching pill, your son will toughen his meridians, reaching higher than before. Even the ethereal stage isn't a problem. It's that good. Kuei Lang was touched to the core, words failing to describe how thankful he was. Then he pulled Kuei Gang from the bed, and both kowtowed as Kuei Lang taught his son, "Hurry up and thank Uncle Joie. He just gave you your entire future." "Thank you, Uncle Joie. Thank you." Kuei Gang knew this was beyond kindness. Bowing again and again, he was truly fortunate. Without popping his veins, there would be no Juefan to save him, and no 10th grade pill to lift his prospects. It was God sent. Who in the entire sect could consume a 10th grade pill? While Yuling looked bitter and crushed, Steward Jua didn't cure them completely. That slap must be eating you inside right about now, baby sister. Juefan gave Yuling's sorrowful look a smug grin. That's what you get for being an ungrateful lass. Chapter 542, Orders. Chapter 542, Orders. Crack. A shattering sound came from Kuei Gang, who was meditating as his cultivation soared. He was now in the 8th layer of profound heaven stage, lifting up from the 7th. Kuei Lang lit up in joy, forever grateful for Juefan's aid. His son took the pill and powered up just after some meditation. That's the 10th grade heaven-reaching pill for you. Not just remolding one's body, but increasing cultivation. Kuei Gang let out a deep breath, and his eyes flashed. Then he kneeled before Juefan and kowtowed again. While his dad had forced him the first time, this gesture came from the bottom of his heart. Now he knew what it meant to be reborn. The simple act of lifting his hand contained unimaginable power, his meridians thrumming with yuan qi. Even though the increase was only 1 layer, his wide meridians translated it into a power increase of dozens of times. He felt unstoppable and was certain he might never feel so amazing ever again. The 3 bumps on his head were totally worth it. While Kuei Lang laughed in joy, Juefan glanced over and stated, "My work here is done. It's time for me to hit the cemetery and mind my own training." But Yuling had a different opinion. "Wait, Steward Jua, please help Yuera as well. Else she will forever be in the 6th layer of profound heaven stage." "Your point being?" Juefan cocked an eyebrow and spoke in an icy tone. "I came to save them, and that's what I did. As for how much, it's all up to my whims. Since I don't feel like it, I'll leave it at that." Juefan snorted and walked away. Yuling slumped to the ground in despair. Her begging eyes landed on Elder Yuan to say a few words, but Elder Yuan sighed and shook his head. Getting Juefan involved was already a miracle in itself. Opportunity comes knocking only once. It is best to treasure it. He was annoyed, and getting him to finish healing was nigh impossible. The four scheming demons resumed their creepy laughter, with Violent Demon getting delighted in other suffering. Told you so. Steward Joie is petty to the core. You deserve it after getting on his bad side. Hi-hat. Yu Ling wallowed in remorse. Wait. Though Joie Fan stepped slowed, he did not turn around. Yuera watched his back with a victimized face. I would like to thank you first and apologize, but I'm not begging you to help me. I'm satisfied with being able to keep my cultivation and not turning into a cripple. Yes, that's it. Joie Fan paused for a second, then kept walking. The four scheming demons jeered, dumb broad. No amount of pleading and begging will move Steward Joie. You're barking at the wrong tree. Kuei-lang sighed at Yuera's fate. Yu Ling felt bitter at her sister's mistreated look. She's just too damn pig-headed. When will she learn to be more flexible? Everyone sighed at Yuera's missed godsend opportunity. Oh, for scheming demons were not included, still mocking in the background, but soon the four stopped and scratched their heads. Boss, didn't we forget something? Sly Demon asked. Violent Demon nodded with a frown. I have the same feeling that we've overlooked something. What were we doing again? Weren't we talking about how, after being around Steward Joie for so long, we should get something out of the Luo clan's share? Why only Li Jingtian and those other foggies get to have something and not us? Scrooge Demon exclaimed. The four nodded. Yeah, that's it. We gotta demand heaven-reaching pills from Steward Joie. Violent Demon's laugh was short as they all shouted, the heaven-reaching pill. Whoosh! Violent Demon jumped at Kuei-gang's throat as he howled. Our precious heaven-reaching pill. Damn brat, spit it out now. His brothers came to help, pulling and shouting, executives, please, you're choking him. Kuei-lang said to break them up. Knowing he couldn't do much else, the four scheming demons were freaky in temper and strength. They might very well take it out on him instead, and wouldn't stop till he was torn to pieces. While Kuei-gang was gasping through the chokehold, he said, Uncle Joie gave it to me. How can I spit it out? And there's no way one pill is enough for the four of you. You'd be better off asking Uncle Joie. The four jerked to a halt and nodded to each other without preamble. They shot after Joie Fan as trails of smoke. With them gone, the people breathed easier. Those pygmies were outrageous, outlandish, and impossible. Not only were their brains useless, but they were a ticking time bomb. It was only a matter of time before the four took their heads. Just how on earth did Steward Joie tame them? He really is a god. The four caught on to Joie Fan, who was just standing in the shadow of a tree. They made a beeline for him. Joie Fan grinned. Took you long enough. Steward Joie was waiting for us. Violent Demon laughed. Joie Fan nodded. I know your thoughts like it's my second nature. I knew you were after my pills the minute you said, healing the kids will need medicine. Whoosh! An azure glow shot for the four, and Violent Demon caught the vial. You might not have joined the final battle of Tianyu, but you're on my side, and I don't skimp on my people. Joie Fan crossed his arms, leaning on the tree. In there, you have 4 heaven-reaching pills. Split them amongst yourselves. Grinning, Violent Demon felt awkward, though he had no shame putting the vial in his ring. With Steward Joie as our boss, the way forward is limitless. We may be in the demon scheming sect, but we'll follow Steward Joie through hell and high water. Yep, the brothers echoed, then turned their angry stare at Violent Demon. Boss, Steward Joie told us to share, so why are you hogging them? Take them out. Violent Demon spoke with entitlement. I am the boss, so of course I'm the one to keep them. Bullshit. The other 3 pygmies raved, raining fists on him. Joie Fan waved to stop them. Sharing is for you to decide, but later. I need you to do something for me. We await your orders, Steward Joie. The 4 cupped their hands the next second. Joie Fan said, as executives, there's little information you have access to, but you should pick up clues about the elders from their actions. So keep an eye out for the slightest disturbance and report back. And more importantly, see if the elders intend to have Kuei-lang and Yu Ling reinstated. Why do you ask, Steward Joie? You know that once someone is dumped in the labor office, coming out is almost impossible. There hasn't been a pardon in centuries. Violent Demon asked, puzzled. Joie Fan smiled. When Humayer went to the labor office, she taunted the two. Was it all just showing off and acting smug? She plotted against the juniors just to get to them. In short, help me keep an eye out. If they are to return, and I have no choice but to do as Siawiwa said, then these two are my ticket into the inner sect. The four scheming demons cupped their hands. Chapter 543, Taunt. Chapter 543, Taunt. 3 days later, NK gang jumped back on the horse, or, in this case, back to the outer sect promotion to beg the elders. Everyone at the competition was stunned with their gruesome wounds. Everyone was aware of their fate. Yet here they were a couple days later. To top it all off, Kuwait gang had even advanced. What the hell did you eat to get on your feet so fast? The elders were even more shocked with how these two had made a full recovery, not just in body, but in cultivation as well. It left them speechless. No one healed completely, was a saying everyone knew. Yet these two were back in action better than before. But since the two had shed their status as a waste and had yet to piss off any important people, there was no point leaving them in the labor office. So the elders welcomed them back into the outer sects without even an inquiry. Meanwhile, Humayer swung her hips walking toward the pavilion. Lu Su was there, playing the zither in the marvelous scenery, the river on one side and the mountain on the other, though the tone of the music gave an insight into his foul mood. Second senior brother, this is absurd. Humayer was rushing now and appeared with a flabbergasted face. Who? The zither stopped as Lu Su sighed. Mayor, what has got you so shocked? Is the sky falling? Not yet, but what I found is far more wicked. Humayer shook her head. Just what could have gotten you so unnerved? Lu Su raised an eyebrow. Humayer had a bitter smile. Second senior brother, I bet you won't believe it either. Those brats have made a full recovery and are back in the outer sect. Say what? Lu Su was incredulous. There's no way. Not with their broken meridians. And so fast, too. Just heal and dash. No, not even healing is possible. That's why I said it's absurd. Humayer stomped, her dainty complexion ruined by her frown. Lu Su paced around the pavilion in thought. No, this is an impossible feat for Kuei Lang and Yuling. Some big shot must have lent a hand. But who? Not even the elders can do this, while the venerables that can are too few to count. Moreover, the price is too big. Would a venerable waste all his hard-earned capital just to save some nobodies? Not even Kuei Lang, saving his master from death, would get his master to help so much. Lu Su speculated, well, of course not, since no venerable had the good stuff like Zhuo Fan, nor are they so filthy rich to throw away 10th-grade pills like nothing. They were clueless as well about the golden goose hiding in the labor office, or the labor office's doorstep would fall every day because of the crowd of people coming to hug that big tree. Humayer frowned. Second senior brother, the brats are too freaky. I made some inquiries, and it only gets weirder. Just that I don't know how it's related to the two. What? Lu Su asked. Humayer said, the same day the brats recovered, someone said they saw Kuei Lang and Yuling fawning over Zhuo Fan they'd cast out in the cemetery to come see the brats. But it wasn't long after that Zhuo Fan was back in the cemetery while the brats improved. Zhuo Fan again? Lu Su's brow shook. Humayer surmised. Maybe Zhuo Fan got his backer to save the two. Out of the question. Zhuo Fan has no status in the sect and has no one to ask. Lu Su shot it down. Humayer cried. He has no one in the sect? But isn't he a wastrel? Ah, that was just us jumping to conclusions. Lu Su sighed. I asked for master's help to get to the bottom of this, and Zhuo Fan has no ties to any elder or venerable. He's a nobody. Then why would the sect leader bring him in just to demote him? Humayer couldn't understand. Lu Su shook his head. No one understands the sect leader's mind. We can't make wild guesses. More or less he found a kid with great potential, but who lacks experience, so he dumped him in the labor office as a trial. You know how ruthless sect leader is to his disciples. Didn't you just say not to make wild guesses? Humayer put on her charming smile. Lu Su smiled, but his mood soured soon. We may not know how these two events are related, but one thing is certain. The punk will rise sooner or later and become a threat to our position. Second senior brother, you mean? Humayer frowned. Lu Su nodded. his eyes icy. Humayr hesitated. So he isn't a wastrel, but the sect leader has brought him into the sect, and he will even become his disciple one day. That means the sect leader will look into what we're doing. No worries, sect leader is unyielding. He may appreciate the kid's talent, but shows his cruelty by throwing him into the labor office where one's very life is at stake. No disciple of the sect leader is a weakling. Lu Su's eyes glinted with bloodthirst. Humayr nodded, blossoming in a smile. Leave him to me. His 7th layer of profound heaven cultivation is good, but I never touched him before fearing his wastrel status. But now I have no qualms. Junior sister, a dreamboat is nice, but getting greedy is a no-no. Watch out for Kuei Lang and Yuling. If they report you to the sect, it will bring you trouble. Lu Su snickered. Humayr waved him off, her smile intoxicating. Second senior brother, I know what I'm doing and won't let greed get the best of me. Hi. Humayr swung her hips on her way back. Catching Lu Su's content eyes in their oblivious states, they were going to piss off this easy pretty boy on the surface, yet mean and ruthless beast on the inside. Humayr and Lu Su were digging their own grave. Calling it I told you, so couldn't be more fitting. Who? The biting wind whistled past Zhuo Fan in the cemetery, swallowed by the black energy around him hum. With a few shakes, Zhuo Fan showed a bright smile. Reaching the 8th layer was just around the corner paw. Though the snapping of a branch dampened his good mood. For crying out loud, what is it this time? Who the hell is messing with my quality time breaking through? Zhuo Fan grumbled as he took back the black energy and looked at the newcomer coming over even before he saw her. Her voice reached him, hypnotic and intoxicating. Not even Zhuo Fan's steady heart could fight the attraction off completely. Oh, junior brother Zhuo Fan, it's been a while. I have longed for you so much. Humayr swung her ass. Ramping up the charm, any male would be reduced to a bumbling, drooling idiot right about now, wishing nothing more than to jump into the sack. Though the green grass would do just fine as well when it came to jumping like rabbits. It wasn't Humayr's average looks doing this either, but the way she carried herself, her every gesture, her every blink, got every male hooked, Zhuo Fan included. Though as he wiped the drool off his face, his heart turned into an ice block. Miss me, is it? Miss your head. 2 months back, you took me for a wastrel, yet now you've come a toy with me. Isn't it just because I saved those two? You've come to the right guy. Licking his pearly whites, Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with savagery, waiting to pounce on the oblivious prey, inching closer to its doom. Chapter 544, Fiendish. Chapter 544, Fiendish. Her devilish swing of hips drew nearer with every intoxicating step. In front of him, she rolled her coquettish eyes in a frown of revulsion. Oh my, what is this place? How can you stand it? Just how could those two send darling to such a foul place? Ha. But senior sister, I like it here. Zhuo Fan's smile leaked a jeer, rolling her eyes. Humayr grumbled. How can you deprecate yourself, junior brother? You may not care about your body, but I am heartbroken. Humayr placed a hand on her chest. This killer move got even Zhuo Fan dazed. Humayr snickered inside. Dear Fanner, I'm going to give those two a piece of my mind and make them take you back. I can't bear to see you wither in this awful place, enduring the cruel winds when you're already sporting white hair. Humayr traced Zhuo Fan's hair with a dainty hand. Then his head, then his cheek. Her hand fell on Zhuo Fan's cheek like a feathery touch, making his heart skip a beat. With a bright smile, speaking endless promises, Humayr fell into his arms. His face flushed, his ears reddened, and his mind blanked. Junior sister, W, what are you doing? Zhuo Fan stammered, giggling. Humayr said, silly, I found you so pitiful, enduring so many hardships, and wish to reward you. Reward? What is it? Zhuo Fan showed an odd smile. Humayr rolled her eyes, pouting. Meanie, you know. You want me to spill it out? Why play hard to get when it's so obvious? Humayr's soft hands wound around his neck like vipers, making him freeze with a giggle. Humayr's sexy lips touched his neck like a bolt out of the blue. Zhuo Fan shivered, just like a veer dash All right, a real virgin. Not knowing what to do with his hands, Umayyad had a cold smile looking at his nervousness. Proud of herself, too. This pretty boy is in the bag. Umayyad's hot lips kissed him along his neck. Like a general sieging a city, all this while Fan had a dumb look on his face and was rooted in place. She took all the liberties she wanted, attacking his frail heart with every action. He was like a lamb in front of tigress, puny, weak, and helpless to even cry out, better yet, not wanting to cry. Her full lips finally reached Fan's mouth. Jay Jr.'s sister, no. Fan could hardly speak, whom Mayer figured that should do it. And her eyes took a darker tone. Time to die. Mayer's power surged, a thick aroma wafted from her, stopping any of his movements with a whiff. He couldn't move even if he wanted to, grinning. Mayer wiggled her tongue in Fan's mouth like an eel, sealing them together, seeing her succubus eyes. Fan's blood boiled, his dantian roiled, wanting to escape. So that's it. She's training in some charm method to steal men's yang for herself. To men, their yang was their essence. It was through it that they grew closer to the Tao. Their cultivation rose. It was the foundation of their very existence, without which no spiritual energy would gather upon them, or at least they couldn't hold it and turn it into one's own yuan qi. Losing one's yang meant turning into a cripple, if not a corpse. A man's yang made for good medicine, as well to a woman's yin. An intact yang even more so. Thus the world had ways to nurture yang through yin, and the other way around. Shame that her wiles fell short when it came to Fan. Not something here meager third layer of radiant stage cultivation could overcome. Your funeral. Fan activated demon transformation art whoosh. Thick black energy shot from Fan as his blood cooled, and Mayer's poison inside it vanished, offering his joy of movement. Once more the pitch-black energy wrapped Mayer in its black abyss. Mayer's expression froze in that prideful smile as the horror in her eyes soared. Why can't I take his yang, and why is such a dreadful power seeping into my body? I can't stop it. What the hell did he do? Mayer was panicking, wishing nothing more than to bolt, but having lost the means to escape, she became the prey of a ruthless, savage beast. The prey and hunter had switched places. SSS. Fan's trademark evil smile was back in the works as the black energy rushed back to him and seeped out of Mayer. Mayer felt her yuan qi plunging out of her control. Dawn. Her frail hands pushed Fan's chest, wanting to escape from this demon. Alas, no prey had ever left Fan's sight, unless dead, as the yuan qi left her. Mayer grew weaker, and so did her attempts, realizing her life was leaving her as well. Mayer cried. She was regretting coming to mess with this freak. How is this enjoying a pretty boy when I am the one turning to dust? If she had a second chance, she would never ever come at him, even if it killed her. Steward Jiug. A hoarse voice grunted to stop. The two of them noticed 4 people watching them. Kuei Lang, Yu Ling, and the kids. Mayer was thrilled finding her enemies here, crying, "Save me!" Grasping at straws. Mayer cared not about sides right now, but only about her survival. The 4 of them bumping into such a touching scene were too out of it to react. Is Steward was shagging the fox? That means we've come at the worst time. Sorry to disturb you. We'll be going now. But Steward Joie, she is evil. Having fun is one thing, but never let it become serious or you'll be sorry. Kuei Lang sighed awkwardly. The other 3 went crimson, knowing it was all a misunderstanding. He shoved Mayer off, giving back her freedom, much to her joy. Not for long, though, because here came Fan's coup de grace, clutching her neck and hoisting her. This woman came to steal my yang. Fan spat. The 4 exclaimed. So they're not bumping uglies, but she came to kill him. But having felt Fan's power on their own skin, they laughed at her predicament, while they were also happy that they didn't tell this vixen about Fan's real strength, or this scene wouldn't have happened. Evil begets evil, as they say. The bitch is finished. Mayer was filled with remorse, tears streaming down. What is wrong with me messing with an obvious hidden expert? She was regretting her decision so much that she was getting an ulcer. Chapter 545, Rearing. Chapter 545, Rearing. Humayer, I didn't feel like joining your intersect politics, but since you've come knocking, you will get just desserts. Juefan grinned and flicked Humayer away. She landed hard and watched him with fear. Juefan waved her off. Take a hike. I'll leave you with a warning. This is far from over. Your reckoning is at hand. Humayer chilled and quaked as she stumbled away. Far from this monster, never had she felt such dread as she did from Juefan, and wished to leave this place at once. How ironic. She had come to suck him dry, only to enter the wolf's jaws. Instead, Kuei Lang and Yu Ling wanted to chase, but for when on account of Juefan's icy face, being in a demonic sect for so long, they knew not to encroach on a strong man's dignity. With Juefan here, their opinions were moot. Or dealing with that fox would earn this big shot's ire for now. At least, they let their bitter enemy alone to live another day. Glancing over, Juefan said, Clever, you know how to defer to me, though it's also what saved you. There's no point in venting, adding to your crimes, and nullifying your return to the intersect. What? The two cried out. Return. Juefan nodded. I've been inquiring around for you. In light of your great achievements in the labor office, the elders and venerables are going to pardon you. Or Humayer wouldn't have taunted you after targeting the kids. It's all smoke and mirrors to hide their true plan. So that's why. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling rejoiced at the near miss. They just survived. They'd have plenty of time for revenge once they are back in the intersect. No pressure. 2 lives for one was so not worth it. Steward Jua, why did you spare her? Kuei Lang wondered. You're not in the labor office because of punishment. Killing her was just a disciple dispute within your right and rules. It might even get you out of labor duty and straight into intersect. Juefan shook his head. I'd be leaving myself open. Killing her here would force her handler to implicate others, and your return to the intersect might even fail. Besides, I have different plans. She's not worthy of dying at my hand. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling had puzzled looks. Do his words have another meaning? Juefan laughed at their looks, since they didn't know the intricate political schemes the higher-ups employed. Now, why have you come for me? He eyed the 4 despite knowing all about it with a bow. The gang recalled their objective and said, Steward, we have come for you. I've made up my mind, and that won't change. No amount of begging will help. Juefan cut her off, turning away, having debated with Elder Yuan on Dao. He understands the most. Ever wondered why he isn't here as well? Yu Ling gasped. They had asked Elder Yuan to come as well, but he knew nothing would change. Juefan is a true man of ambition, never going back on his words, never regretful of his decisions. All sighed, then Juefan added, Although your timing is perfect, I need you to do something for me. Steward Jua has saved my son, and I would go through hell or high water for you. Kuei Lang declared. Yu Ling cupped her hands as well, though she wasn't into it. Having lost the jovial mood, Juefan knew she wasn't much keen on doing anything since he stopped helping her baby sister halfway, but Juefan did it on purpose. All for this moment, not from you, but from the juniors. Juefan spoke. The 2 jerked. What could he have for them? Juefan grinned. I need them to deal with someone. Who? All echoed. Humayer. What? Startled, the 4 couldn't believe their ears. He wanted the kids to deal with a 3rd layer of Radiant Stage Cultivator. Besides the fact this task was impossible, Humayer's life was in his hands just now, yet he let her go. The hell had he been thinking, sending kids after her? Expecting this reaction, Juefan smiled. Not right now, of course, but in 3 months, when the outer sect promotion ends and the inner promotion begins. I want everyone to see that outer disciples can beat an inner disciple. This can't be. Kuei Lang was incredulous. The inner disciples are all excellent talents showcased in the outer sect competition. They all show promise of reaching Radiant Stage within 5 years of becoming an inner disciple. And that Humayer is in the 3rd layer, even more well-known, with a high chance of being chosen as an elite. What can 2 children do against a Radiant Stage expert at their level? Steward Jua, if you hate them so much, I would do in their stead and appease your anger. You'll do no such thing. I can kill her any time I want. I've only let her go so that she'd attract attention in the inner competition after losing to some juniors. I want her to be disgraced. You and Yu Ling better not do anything the following few months, or you'll be sorry. Zhuofan snorted. Kuei Lang sighed. This steward Zhua is a deep mastermind in one moment and a spoiled brat the next. For the kids to finish that woman on the stage would definitely make her a disgrace, but the question was, could they do it? They were a stage of cultivation below her. Everyone knew the difference between Radiant Stage and Profound Heaven Stage, but then he turned to the anomaly in front of him and words left him. He might be the only monster in the Profound Heaven Stage as strong as a Peak Radiant Stage. Kuei Lang shook his head. Steward Zhua, not everyone is as special as you. The only time they might be her match is in 10 years. Enough baloney, I'm asking them. It's their choice. I will personally teach them in these 3 months, guaranteeing their rise. Be that as it may, there's no way they'd reach the 3rd layer of Radiant Stage in such a short time. They're going to die. Kuei Lang lamented. If an outer disciple challenges an inner disciple, they have all the right to kill the former. Yu Ling nodded, ignoring the 2 labor office bosses. Zhuofan turned to his victims. Well, any complaints? I'm looking at you, Yuer. To boost you, I'll have to give you a heaven-reaching pill. Better think it over. Kuei Gang shook his head in the end, offering his apologies while stepping back. He had just gotten better, and his body had grown a level. His future was limitless, and he didn't need to take unnecessary risks. While Yuer's gaze hardened, and she nodded. I agree. Fool, do you want to die? Yu Ling cried. Yuer gave an innocent smile. Sister, I do not care about my stagnant cultivation, but I do know that I will become your weakness. Here is a chance to not only advance, but defeat our enemy. I have to try. At worst, you'll just refuse to see me as your little sister, and I won't drag you down anymore. Oh, child, you've never burdened me. Yu Ling rubbed her head. Choking with emotion, Zhuofan jumped up and grabbed her. Good. You'll be following me for the next 3 months. And the 2 blinked away. Yu Ling panicked, looking everywhere, but finding nothing. All she heard was Zhuofan's disembodied shout. People, I'll give you the new and improved Yuer in 3 months. Look forward to it, ha ha ha. Chapter 546, Black Windblade. Chapter 546, Black Windblade. In an elegant and tasteful pavilion on a mountain peak, Humayer stumbled her way over to the stone table where she splattered. Bathed in crimson, her delicate complexion had now taken a sickly turn. Whoosh. An azure person flashed over. The second senior brother, Lu Su, gasped at her wounds. Junior sister Mayor, what the hell happened? Did Kuei Lang and Yu Ling attack you while you dealt with that punk? They didn't have to. It's all that rotten punk's fault. You played us. Humayer shook her head, lamenting. This must be my most unlucky year. I just ran into a monster, a beast this close to tearing me apart. Lu Su asked, Junior sister, what are you saying? I don't understand anything. Ha ha ha, you're not the only one. He's supposed to be some weak lamb, yet underneath it all, he's a monster ready to pounce. I would have never risked today if I knew him for what he was. Humayer sighed with a pained face, having complained enough. She detailed her battle to Lu Su. Lu Su was dumbstruck. That brat is stronger than you? How? Why else do you think he had me immobilized in one move? I couldn't resist at all. Humayer sighed. Lu Su paced around the pavilion, his face heavy. With a power like Zhuofan, this changes things. Sec leader brought him in for a reason after all. But why dump him in the labor office? What is Sec leader up to? Second senior brother, don't be rash. Humayer cut in his train of thoughts. We can't beat that guy, so don't taunt him. We're already on his bad side from today, but let's not do something we'll regret. So, this is the demon's scheming sect. No matter how great he is, he still needs a stable footing to stand tall. What slips my understanding is the sect leader's design revolving around him. Will it affect the elite selection? Lu Su's eyes glinted. This is no longer something as simple as a disciple affair. I'll take it up with the master and hear his opinion. Humayer cried. Venerable, sure. Yes. Lu Su nodded. Let him probe Zhuofan's importance to sect leader, and we'll just ask him or an elite senior brother to deal with the brat. depending on how much sect leader values him. If the sect leader has his eyes set on him, we'll block the labor office, and he won't get any merit to leave this place. With no excuse to base his rise on, he'll be stuck there forever. Humayr nodded, and her charming smile was back, yet was soon replaced with a frown. But with his strength, he simply has to challenge an inner disciple before the elders and venerables, and he's out. Moreover, our competition is in 3 months. He is our biggest threat. Ha ha ha. That's even easier. If we meet him, we just forfeit. Lu Su said Humayr was still puzzled. Lu Su beamed. Junior sister, everyone that ends up in the labor office is either a criminal or a reject. The first type will either die of old age, stuck in there for the rest of their lives, or gain enough merit to recover their status. Exactly how Kuei Lang and Yu Ling created the Azura Circle, laborers are the lowest rung. No matter how hard they work, how strong they get, they'll never become disciples again. Only elders or venerables to safeguard the precious inner disciples. Zhua Fan is a laborer, but not a criminal. That means he's lower than a bug. So no matter how much he proves his strength, he'll be a venerable or elder at most. Unless... What? Humayr asked eagerly. Lu Su shook his head. Junior sister Mayor, it doesn't matter. It's just impossible. Unless he flips the world on its back and has the whole sect acknowledge him. That's the only way to become an elite. They say the High Venerable came from the labor office as well, with unstoppable power, the highest in the sect. But even so, he's still just a venerable falling short of becoming the sect leader. It is a rule unchanged for eternity. Humayr nodded. That means Zhua Fan and us will never cross paths. That's how it should be, but I worry that the sect leader has brought him here not to deal with disciples, but those old guys. Lu Su's eyes glinted. If their situation does not settle, our structure will change. Humayr nodded after a pause. Meanwhile, back among the tombstones where the een was thickest, a guy and a girl popped out of nowhere. A chew. Yuerer sneezed from the biting wind. Hugging herself from the cold, the creepiness of this place, had her feeling threatened to sneeze, was the most obvious sign. Even at her 6th layer of profound heaven cultivation, some cold wind actually managed to pierce her body. Zhua Fan had an ineffable smile. From now on, you will be under my guidance. You are to follow my words to the letter, no matter if the path is rugged, torturing, or deadly. You will obey. And get it out of your head that someone's going to save you. I've set up a barrier those two will never find. Got it? Yes. Yuerer nodded with a steeled face. Disregarding her gruesome fate, Zhua Fan beamed. No questions? How strong you'll get or your survival rate? None, Yuerer said. Knowing that you can restore my meridians to keep me cultivating is enough. Nothing else matters. Zhua Fan smiled. Great. He made a gesture and pointed. Place of een, gates of heaven. Howls of wraiths, gather within me. Biting winds lash my body. Rip the sky, destroy this world. Hum. The air shimmered under Yuerer's incredulous look, and a 2 meters tall door appeared. It opened with a creak to reveal nothing but a black abyss and howling winds like banshee screams. Yuerer stood frozen before the eerie door, and ice formed on her hand, robbing her of feeling from it. Yuerer lost her composure. Now panicking, Zhua Fan smiled. This is the 7th great array I've set up, Black Wind Array. I've gathered all the biting winds, strongest here in the cemetery center. Entering this place will have one's bones and tendons snap like twigs, their soul pulverized. A feeble mind would end up soulless just looking at the door. But not you, because you have a death wish. Yuerer turned her shocked face at him. How does he know my thoughts? Zhua Fan continued. From the moment I laid my eyes on you, I knew your character, ruthless to the extreme, and even more so to yourself. I thought you were just putting up a tough front, but after all that's happened to you, I knew it all came from your steeled will. It's because of you that your sister ended up in the labor office and made you feel like a burden. You worked hard to live up to her expectations while also hellbent on succeeding or die trying. So that maybe dying will free her of this burden. That's why not fully healing didn't come as such a disappointment to you. Because you're a lost cause, hopeless, right? Zhuofan's eyes pierced her. Yuer stared right back, though her eyes were in shock. He saw through me. Not even my sister knows me so well. Now, this temper is quite good, perfect to train this top profound ranked martial art, Black Windblade. Zhuofan's trademark evil smile was back in business. His hand revealed a jade slip. This art is trained with the biting winds here, far stronger than your demon-devouring saber. And since your meridians are shot to begin with, this een seeping into you is a blessing in disguise, and you don't need my help. Follow this art, and these winds will be your deadliest weapon. Yuer took the jade slip, about to read it, when Zhuofan threw her inside the door. No time, just get to it. Ah! The devil's hand pushed a wailing Yuer into hell. Zhuofan stayed behind with a wide smirk. The crucial point of the Black Windblade was to stay calm in the face of certain death. Or the second one panicked. The een would devour him. Zhuofan planned for Yuer to learn this art the minute he saw her. All his actions lead to this point, even foregoing healing her. He wasn't that petty, just cruel, or no matter how much she agreed, her sister would never let her. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.